Rock the drunk uncle as his like AV or whatever. So I saw the drunk uncle one time and had to grab it to add to the collection. So it's my 2 drink Funko.
I appreciate that he's here in spirit.
Yeah.
Now answer me this, Swags. First question tonight. All right, you ready? This is coming in hot.
I am ready.
All right. So we're in a live draft, right? You and I, or you are. I don't care. I don't have to be there. I to be honest, I hope I'm not there for what I'm about to ask you. All right. So kinkiest place that kinkiest situation in which you would do a draft. What do you think? What's your limit? What's your level? Give it to me.
Situation. Ooh, and we're live, like a group. Oh man.
Who knows, man?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we need some sexy girls calling us over to make our picks. All right.
Gee whiz, Swags.
Definitely not eating peanut butter and onion sandwiches because I want them to come to me.
Strong callback.
And you can't be there, Gabe, because I feel like they will flock to you. And I'm glad you decided to stay away.
Well, I don't know. It's been a pandemic of sorts. These last 3 months.
Of sorts. Not like the usual pandemic.
Not your typical pandemic, right? Of sorts,
right?
And
standard run of the mill pandemic.
Yeah. But my point is that your boy hasn't had a haircut in about like literally 6 months, maybe more. I don't even know. That includes the beard, everything. So my point is that maybe you have the upper hand at this point. I don't know.
You never know. I haven't had a haircut in probably like 20 years.
Okay.
I just kind of do it.
Yeah.
So it's easy.
I'm just shocked they banned scissors in your stay-at-home orders. Like, this seems extreme.
Peter, are you drinking coffee? What's in that cup?
Yeah, it's coffee. It can not be. You want it to not be?
Oh, yeah. All right.
Sounds like a plan today, man. I'm just like, I normally shave at home. I was kind of didn't really affect that too much.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, it's gotten worse, to be honest, Pete. But Swags, I thought you might come like something with a little spicier, like the hot Cheeto bath or something. Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I guess the
hot Cheeto bath.
Yeah, the hot Cheeto bath. The hot Cheeto bath draft. All right. We'll get to that later. We'll get to everyone's bath of choice later. We'll have a bath draft. All right. This is live. It is 9:30 Eastern, Tuesday-ish. Maybe. Is it Tuesday? J-Mike, I sure as heck hope it's Tuesday, man. Yeah. So we're here. I have nothing else to say, but we're here. I saw someone call me out already, saying that I'm in the center. Okay, look, I didn't try to do this. I didn't try. I would love to have my main man J Mike to be in the center of this whole thing. Look, J Mike, explain what happened. What's up, dude? How are you,
bro? We are less than 1 week away from Scott Fishbowl draft, I believe. So thankful for that. That's exciting. What happened while you're in the middle? I think it was a case where you were here, then you dipped. And basically all I said was, hey, you're the GOAT, and that's just the way that it goes. So you being in the middle is just basically signifying that what we already knew, you're the star of the show. We're here for you, for your pleasure. And we're just happy to be able to play a small role in the world that is Bungie. So thanks for having me, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, and thank you for joining me, week after week and getting everyone here. And I can just show up. It's pretty cool. Yeah, no. Well, hey, good to see you, man. Speaking of the people that you invited onto the show, let's jump right in. All right, we got a couple of vets, one noob, as the kids might say, like 10 years ago. I don't know. I remember when I used to play like Modern Warfare on the PS3, and I would be called a noob with zeros instead of O's. Man, that hurt. But 10 years later, still standing. So on to
Started
the
from the
guests.
bottom, now we're here.
You got to be strong-willed in this FF game. All right, so vets first, out of respect. PA Howdy, that is his handle. I know him as Peter. Some people know him as Pete, but I have respect, like I said. So Peter, my friend, how are you tonight? Good to have you back.
I was going to say most people don't know him at all. Yeah, I'm happy to be back, man. Feels like I've been banned from the open bar for way too long. Happy to be here. Need this to go well today. Today's been a terrible, not compared to some people's days, as I now know, but still, I feel like I need to not make a complete ass of myself like usual. Be able to leave here with some dignity just to set my day back right, and this is a place to do it. I really appreciate you asking me to come back, bud.
It's in the contract, quarterly contract. That's, maybe, I don't know, maybe every 6 weeks or so, 8 weeks. I don't know. But yeah, still appreciate you coming through. We will allow you the chance to kind of redeem yourself. Feel like you are worthy of being here, however you want. You were describing it just now, because you're talking about tight ends, pre-show. In the pre-show notes, we were talking about tight ends. All right, you got to subscribe to the Open Bar Patreon. The patreon.com/open bar. It's cheap to subscribe, and you get to join us pre-show. So it's quite the honor, really. Go ahead and do that, guys. All right. Swags. Hey, man. How are you? Feeling swaggy tonight, huh? You feeling a little swaggy?
Absolutely, man. It's always great to be here. Always great. And then you want to be here more when you see other great guests on. Missed out on some great shows. You guys have been killing it with guests lately. So happy to be here as always.
I appreciate you grouping me in the guest invitation process that I have no part of. I think I've invited like one person in the last 3 months. So yeah.
Who was it?
Thank you for Joseph. Our buddy Joseph, and it was a new follow for me, a new friend to the Open Bar. And I don't want to butcher his last name. I can't remember how to say it again. Namor, was it Namor?
I believe, yeah.
Namor, J Mike. Mm-hmm. He's a wino. All right, FF wino. So that's not his handle. You'd have to search his name to find him. But give him a follow. Friend of the show. All right, the only guest that I've invited in 2020. So he's got to be pretty special, right?
I think we should get people to give you. You guys got Sal up to how many fouls at one show?
I know.
But why aren't we working on you too?
No. That's not what we do here. Okay, we appreciate the shout. Matter of fact, worthy. we got shout out.
That's all I'm gonna do the rest of the week.
By Peter,
okay? You can. That's what I'll do.
Look. All right.
He said, "That's what I'll do the rest of the week."
You watch.
A quick shout out to Joseph. He's on Twitter at JNamour, NAMMOUR24. The homie from up east as well.
Yep, good dude.
Indeed.
J Mike, I told you, dude. I told you. You just gotta throw out stories, and people say things eventually.
Told him you're telling tales, man.
Thank you, Swags, for getting J Mike and I to however many followers we need.
We're going 10,000.
10,000. Okay. Yep. Cumulatively between all three handles, between Open Bar, J Mike Check, and FF Man Bun.
Easy. We can do that. All right.
Yeah.
We're
already like halfway there.
We'll
maybe
shoot for 5
or like 2/3. All right. Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Cool.
Appreciate you,
story,
Pete, for giving us individual shout outs today. Speaking of trying to get us to that, 10,000 mark like that, man. Well, thanks. Just thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, you, Pete. Yeah.
What'd I do?
You gave us a personal shout out.
Not being antagonistic. What did I do?
No, you gave us a personal shout out on Twitter to try and get us to the 10,000 mark
Oh, right. Yeah, sure.
cumulatively.
Well, why would I not? It's like,
I legit had
doing
planned
that
on
a lot.
showing up with some peanut butter. Sorry, Peter, I cut you off.
That's
Go
okay.
Ooh, open
That's
bar
okay.
signature alcohol. That'd be cool. I saw somewhere on Twitter. Man, Scott Fish is like a celebrity. Not even like a celebrity. He is a celebrity. People, they like. I'm in the Beanie Baby division. I would have to get his handle in front of me, but dude in there is trying to make Scott Fish Beanie Babies, like literal fish. You know.
Oh wow.
Throwing them on T-shirts. But speaking of the alcohol, I saw someone who's works at a vineyard and bottles wine, and they made like a label for Scott Fish. That was kind of neat. So I mean, I just want the open bar to be on a wine label, J Mike,
Hey, I'm
Or-
not mad at that.
or a beer. You know, shout out to Chris Allen. All right, come on. Come on.
First off, yeah, absolutely. I buy all that alcohol, and it'd be the only thing I drink. You should do that. But just realized I've got like a bone to pick with John Bosch because he effectively named our podcast, and it is the worst branding idea ever. Now I think about it. I mean, Scott Fish, obviously, open bar, alcohol, cool. What am I gonna do? Like sell roads?
Yeah,
Basically, I just
signs,
come sponsor our road, like.
signs, man.
It could be like something commercial.
It's just like when you're
Like-
driving down the highway and your highway
Yeah.
is sponsored by a certain group that actually keeps it clean and tidy,
Yep.
right?
It isn't going to help at all. It's just going to keep a road tidy, and who cares? Really?
That is all thanks to Peter.
Pete, you run these streets, man.
Hey, let's go.
Fair enough.
All right.
Perfect.
All right. Okay. One last guest, the N00B to the open bar. That's open bar with a 0, not an O. Okay, noobs. We're changing the handle right now as we speak, aren't we, J Mike? All right. Justin, dude.
What
4
is
for
up?
4. What is up?
You know, happy to be here. Happy to crack a couple open with you guys. The noob, the noobest of the noob. Literally
Yeah.
the newest guest possible because this is live, so I couldn't possibly be not the newest guest. So it's nice to be here.
There's no one else, unless
No
you
one
know.
else.
Of course, we went and dug into the Twitter depths and said, "Hey, look, this Justin guy thinks he's the noobest noob. You want to be noober than him?" And
Come
Yeah.
on in.
so you, so you better watch yourself, okay?
All right, we'll see. We'll see.
Happy to have you though, dude.
Oh yeah.
4 for 4, great site, smart people. One of my favorite just titles for a website in general. You know, four. Jay-Z, you know, 444. Oh boy, man. All right. Great album. I don't know what I'm talking about, J Mike. We need to start a show. We need to talk about fantasy football. All right. You got anything for us? Got any hot takes to start us off? Huh?
I don't have any hot takes. I'm sorry. Can we still do the show though?
No.
I think we need to start with that from
Sweet.
you.
Sweet hot take. Michael Thomas will not finish as the wide receiver 1. How's that?
Why is that hot?
It's not.
That's
all.
hard
It's
to do.
That's like really specific.
There's so many things that we can
Who
talk about.
will?
Wide receiver 2, maybe, but not 1.
Yeah, maybe your hot take needs to be who it will be.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because and Swags, thank you for asking, because shout out to a friend of the bar, Cody Kutzer, and the folks over at the Fantasy Authority. They actually posed a question on Twitter earlier today,
On what?
and they were Twitter,
Okay.
Titerated.
Call back.
What up, Hurley? So they did pose the question: Who are the wide receivers that you can actually name that have a legitimate shot at finishing at number 1? Not someone who can like rise way up, but like who are the guys that you feel like, you know, whatever your prerequisite is, the number of wide receivers who you feel like can actually finish at the very tip top. And for me, it just starts out with a discussion of okay, who are the number of guys who can like rise above from a target perspective, right? Who are the people that are going to be beat over the head with targets? And for me, at least, for me at least, and obviously we can play the efficiency game, right? You can have someone who's scoring on long plays all the time, this, that, and the third. But they had it narrowed down, I believe, to Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill. From there, can you even wrap your brain around anyone else going for number one? And I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Why do you laugh, Peter? Why do you laugh at me?
No, I love the way you describe things. That's why I listen to everything you do, and everyone should subscribe below. No, I love your animation. What can I say? Yeah, I can think of a few that have the potential that can reach it. That isn't a stretch, though probably won't, because most probably aren't. That are a little less valued. Like that's a list of players that can, and everyone already knows can. It feels like a very good list, very safe list. But like Odell Beckham definitely has that skill potential, volume, opportunity. Like there's no reason other than the worldwide acceptance that he's bad now, apparently, because he had 1,000 yards.
Haven't you heard, Peter?
After switching teams, like he's bad now, so he's basically done. I mean, he's in the prime of his career, but whatever. Other players, if we're sticking to somewhat predictable, somewhat reasonable, Odell Beckham is the one that sticks out. The other one that just occurred to me seems a little unfair. Hopkins, I would say, yeah, but we know his situation is worse. That's what just happened to Odell Beckham last year. Even if he has that potential, we should expect him to struggle compared to players that stuck to the same team. So I think it's reasonable to expect not one. But yeah, as a player, yeah, I get that.
You know who's super unreasonable is Adam Thielen. Just like getting like 170 targets.
Targets should be there.
Again, if we're talking top 12, I'm with you. If we're saying, genuinely it's definitely within their range of outcomes without, extreme efficiency or something we definitely don't see come. It's hard to know the parameters here, but one would be really difficult for Thielen. I tell you what, the other one that occurs to me.
Great floor, though.
Would be Antonio Brown, just to get a groan out of everyone. Like if he gets a team, legitimately nothing stopping him being the literal wide receiver one. There is one wide receiver in the league that's shown a potential history for doing it. That's Julio Jones. He's already on your list. The other one that's done it over the last 7 years is Antonio Brown. So, I mean, that's the other one that could easily fit in the conversation if he had a team.
How about Amari Cooper? Is that within the realm of possibility?
I mean, everything's within the realm. I don't think it's
true. Why? Because
we've seen like him with max volume and be efficient, and with a really good QB last year at least, and really safe. Like we haven't seen him get into that top 5 tier really. And
yeah,
so
but vacated targets, Peter.
Okay.
But I mean, you just put Antonio Brown there to be fair.
Because he's been there. If he was on a team, that's a player that's proven with volume he can do it. That's kind of where I'm at. Or indicate, and the other players on that list, like Devontae Adams could be on there. He's been good enough on a shortened season that we believe we could see that throughout the whole season that could hit one. That's another player that could do it. Julio can do it because he's done it. He's hit that kind of tier before. Amari, I'm a little squeamish on because we've seen him in good situation, not kind of hit that upper tier. And that's why I mentioned Antonio. Like the reason Antonio isn't in that tier or has that potential is because he has no targets, vacated or otherwise, Gabe. But if he suddenly had them,
yeah. let me throw some names out.
Said A-Rob, and he's in the conversation for me where it's the player's great, but it's not like we haven't seen him with volume, even in the situation he's in. Top 12, yeah. If we're aiming for one, I think it's a little out. Like it seems a little different. So I'm going to stop talking.
But everyone has to get there for the first time, right?
Yeah.
So, true. I mean, Michael Thomas got there for the first time, AB, Julio, has Julio been number one before? Probably. I mean,
but But everyone on that list did it once they finally fell into their role very quickly. It's not like they are perpetually an Amari Cooper and then became a wide receiver one. Like Julio did it just after, finally earning the job. He was year one. He was a top 24 wide receiver. After that, we've had this phenomenal career of being 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. Like he hasn't fallen below. Same with Antonio Brown. Michael Thomas did well his first year, then a perennial top 3 guy. They don't like develop into being that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't see a lot of development.
But there's a bit of a formula for the ascension to the number 1 overall wide receiver, is what you're saying?
Maybe that's just the way I think of it. The types of players who have done that, and we could think
what
of
about
reasonably
Mike McCarthy, though? Is Mike McCarthy going to change anything
AJ Brown,
in Dallas?
And that's one of the things that I got hung up on a lot, or not hung up on. I've thought about it some over this offseason as well. 9-point scoring season. What up, Russ? When we Dak already threw the ball a bunch last year, Swags. So I'm just curious how much more could he add to that? Because from an attempts perspective, Prescott was already 6th in the league last year at 596. So then the question becomes, if everyone, excuse me, let me try that again. If the folks who are incredibly smart are already projecting Dallas to be a pretty good team, in all likelihood, and again, help me walk through this without sounding like an idiot. Difficult, I know, but y'all help me out. If we walk through this, even if you're getting a McCarthy bump per se in attempts, you'd like to think that their game script, from a game script perspective, we think that their defense is going to be terrible, and they're likely be ahead in a lot of games. So if that's the case, and they're not constantly fighting from behind, I'm not sure that you're going to be growing on almost 600 attempts again. So then the question becomes, how much more efficient can you be? And he was already a 65% complete passer with 4,900 yards last year. So I don't know that the pie gets bigger from an attempts perspective. The question just becomes, how is it spread out between everybody that's on the team? Is that fair to say with him?
I think there's a better chance that Zeke could be the overall RB1 than any of the receivers on that team could be the overall wide receiver 1. They would much prefer to just run it through Zeke, and if they do have a good team, they're not going to try to pass it 600 to 630 times in a season. So I don't know if Amari has that type of ceiling. He's going to have
he has phenomenal ceiling, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Ceiling with the chemistry of who's there, right? Yeah.
However many games we have this season, he's got super good boom weeks, but I don't know about an entire boom season. They would have to be playing from behind consistently, and I don't think anyone has them pegged as the 3rd team in that division.
Major shout out to everyone in the chat. Thank you all for already rocking with us. The family's here.
What chat?
Sorry. The one that you referenced before even I had a chance today. You referenced them first. And I believe it was our homie Rojas who
Golladay,
chat with the capital C.
James, this crisis has to stop.
I want to
stop ruining good players by saying, and now they're going to be better. Stop it.
No.
Sorry, I'm having a personal conversation with James here. And I love Golladay, but we have to stop ruining players by saying, and now they will be much, much better.
He's not saying he will be, Peter. I just asked for candidates who could possibly end up at 1. He's asking
Tyler Boyd's the wide receiver 12, or he's a failure. No, he's already hit. Just be happy with it. Golladay hit. Everyone was wrong. We were right. Just be happy. Don't be now expectations should grow, so we should all hate him the year after he doesn't hit an expectation, which is way outside of his range. We gotta quit with this hurting value on good players because we expect Antonio Brown and Julio Jones out of all of them, frankly. Sorry, this is a triggering thing.
I was just about to say.
I was really high on.
I have never
everyone
seen
were
Peter snap like that.
And then they hit, and I'm like, see, and then no one likes them the next year because everyone was like, oh, they've hit. Okay, I'm on the train, and to be on the train, I have to go even higher than the guys who actually got it right. So top 12, that top 12 is within Galladay's range, but it would be like Cooper. We've seen him do with role and a good quarterback and a good. He showed us he was better than most.
I'm going to say Galladay now too.
Like, why'd you want more? Why'd you have to stretch the range of what he should be to further so everyone feels disappointed? Like,
Now,
no.
James.
And this is purely because of trades, by the way. This is me trying to trade for these players. And everyone's like, no, I really like him that year. Because he might do what he did last year. That's why. Not because now he's Antonio Brown. Like, yeah, shut up. And that wasn't an attack on James either. I appreciate the comment, James. That wasn't directed at you. That was directed against the last person I tried to get a trade with Tyler Boyd, who went by the name of Riley, by the way.
Too much coffee, James. Blame the coffee.
No, it switched to whiskey now. So
perfect.
just like that. Just switch.
I love the love of
love
Galladay, James. I really do. I was mad at the last trade conversation I had. Sorry.
That's so hilarious. And I'm pretty sure that's how basically all of us operate in life. Like, we can be thinking about something that's bothering us from like the other day or earlier in a specific day. And then all of a sudden someone says something that's round about that thing that was bothering you, and all of a sudden you're right back in that moment where you were just upset and frustrated with everything. I can't believe she said that. Oh my gosh.
No, the problem is I've learned not
on there
to do
that
it.
way. Who does
I've
that?
learned not to do it in trade talks because you come off as that guy. Like, I can't write a long, detailed response about how you're hoping for too much from Tyler Boyd. Now trade him to me, because I'm that trope on every trade show saying, well, why does he want to trade you for him then? Because I really like Tyler Boyd, man. That's it. Not because I secretly think it's actually there. Like, I want him at his accurate value. Let's give it to him. And to be fair, I have Galladay projected in the top 12, so it's not like that wouldn't be the win. But that's...
But number one overall, just sit down, James. All right?
Well...
No,
not James particularly. Just
James.
This epic tendency for him.
That's ridiculous,
for a player
James.
that other people didn't like to hit, and then in order to get in on the train, is like, well, I'm going to have to like him more than they do now, and that way I will be the guy associated with this player. And I'm like, you're just pushing ceilings so high up that all that happens.
No, I think you're right though.
Trade value
even like we do the same thing with rookies. Like, we want rookies to hit so quick that if a rookie running back is an RB2, disappointed. But man, same time, I mean, what if you have a Stafford for a healthy season? I might just push your buttons on this one a little bit. I don't think it's that crazy that Galladay and even Cooper, like, how many touchdowns did Gallup have last year? 13, 11, somewhere in there. Like, so push some of those over to Cooper. Like, I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, and then you go to Nuck and you say no way because he's going to a new team, but Antonio Brown isn't even on a team. And so obviously if he goes to a team, it's going to be new. So I'll take Galladay or Cooper over Antonio Brown all day.
Well,
even if he lands on a team,
I'll take any wide
get
receiver
out of here with that.
In anyone's rankings over Antonio Brown.
Yeah,
like,
it's just because we don't want to be burned. We don't want to be burned by that again, right? We just don't want to ride that wave of sadness again, especially for what maybe the cost will eventually become as close as we get to the season. Like, let him sign tomorrow with New England. I know, I get it.
I'm going to go trade for Antonio Brown with Amari Cooper. Like, I'm not.
Right.
I
understand that.
What I was saying is he has more in common with guys who finish as a wide receiver 1 than most of these guys. And it's just kind of sitting there because he went whatever he went last year. I'm not going to try and describe that as a non-healthcare professional. But the reverse of this is something you all have talked about before with Bobby brings it up a lot, like perennial whiskey effect. Players that are always undervalued, like Robert Woods and Jarvis Landry, are never going to be valued the way they should, quote unquote, be compared to the players that they're continually better than, because we projected them to be lower than they were one season, and that sticks in people's heads. Like, we're disappointed because we got them wrong in the wrong direction. And players like Boyd and potentially Galladay, we do the opposite to. We project them so high that their value increases, and then it takes us forever to readjust if they don't hit that higher ceiling. And players like Robert Woods and Landry hit that higher ceiling, but because we didn't expect it, we kind of hold it against them, so their value is perennially low. It's like the opposite of what Bobby talks about with that.
And
That's fair.
And this kind of leads me into, and I love this discussion because it leads me into this next point. I heard this on a podcast. Shout out to the folks over at DHH. Tyler
Calvin Ridley
Doug,
right now. Sorry, here's the other one.
The hippocampus is strong, man. It's strong hippocampus. The folks over at DHH, they had our homie Deltron himself, Commish McGriff, on. And Commish McGriff was talking in reference to his SFB 9 roster. And for those that may not know, obviously with SFB right around the corner, Commish McGriff was actually the leader, I think, through like the third quarter of the Sunday night game of the actual finals for SFB before Aaron Jones started blowing up. Devontae Adams lost his mind, and then some people kind of passed him up. But he was talking through his teams. And one of the things that I found really interesting is how people draft and how people go about looking for potential breakouts in the season. Because in this draft, in SFB specifically, and for those that may not know, which I don't think there's probably many of you because we're mostly a niche market here at the Open Bar. But for those that may not know, the Scott Fish Bowl, huge tournament Scott Fish puts on every year. Shout out to Scott Fish. Hopefully he's checking us out, relaxing himself with a bottle of what, Gabe? Balvenie? With a bottle of Balvenie, not Belvini, as we were saying.
That's right. Balvenie.
And essentially 1,440 participants. And so obviously you need several different aspects of your team to hit, not just your first rounders. You're not necessarily going to win it in your first round, right? But you can certainly win it or basically assemble a team that really rockets you forward. So if you can stack names of certain receivers later on, I think that helps. So let me ask you guys this. I'll say all that to say this. How do you go about spotting or looking for breakouts for an upcoming season? Because when I go back and look, and I know that this is probably more of a nuanced answer that you could probably give, but I kind of cross-reference a couple things. Earlier in the chat, the FF engineer himself, Kevin Breezy. What's up, Kev? Kevin was like, hey, we're looking at trying to get like 150 10 touchdown. 150 target, 10 touchdown potential to try to be able to shoot us up into the top, obviously, stratosphere of wide receiverdom, if you will. Now, obviously, in Scott Fish Bowl, wide receivers are devalued quite a bit, but you still are going to need some, and some great ones, especially if you're going to wait on wide receiver to legitimately hit for you. When we look at last year's top wide receivers, again, from a targets perspective of just the raw points, not points per game, we're looking at 185 targets from Michael Thomas. Chris Godwin had 120 targets on crazy efficiency. Julio Jones, 157 targets. Cooper Kupp, 134 targets. DeAndre Hopkins, 150 targets. That's the top five. Several other guys right behind them, right in the 150 range as well. Then it kind of varies there after you go. If you check and follow the work that our boy also in the chat, Scott Connor's done with targets. I'm gonna just keep this going. In terms of kind of tracking what was happening, I think 70 some odd receivers last season had a wide receiver one season. If you go and take a look at anything that our homie Peter Howard does, you'll be able to track and look at in terms of his entire database of spreadsheets and everything else, all the wonderful colors in the rainbow that you can hope for. There's all sorts of fun that you can find. So what are we looking at from guys that you'd be targeting, maybe middle to later, to try to be able to get that? Because I want to say that there's got to be some sort of route you take to try to land and find basically the breakouts or the folks who are going to exceed expectations. But that's obviously not easy to do, especially in a draft like this with a whole bunch of sharp folks and people who are all consuming very similar content. So what are your all's processes?
I'm gonna try and vote to go last here, since I just spent 5 minutes ranting about something that doesn't really matter. Seems like Justin might have something interesting to add instead of my random rants.
I doubt it, but we'll see. I mean, my kind of bread and butter, the first thing that I look at, because there's so many things going on, and because I'm not the greatest projection specialist, is I like to look at who I believe has kind of benefited from free agent signings and draft picks on the offensive line. Like that's just kind of my bread and butter. That's where I look at. It's something that I think is, again, going off of a niche. It's like a niche of a niche of a niche. How many fantasy players are digging into those offensive line rankings where you can find them? And if they improve up front, I feel like they improve the backfield without adding someone new in. So I think that's an interesting place to start for me. Maybe there's some hidden value there where other people are not looking.
Okay.
Damn, mic drop. No one has anything else. That was it.
Nobody has anything.
That's all.
Dang, Justin. Next question, J Mike.
That's it.
All right. It took me like 2 minutes to get into the actual question, and then
I
one
know.
answer. All right.
And then, yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I'm probably not. I'm probably taking wide receivers you guys don't like, and I mean, not that you guys don't like, but I'm
Try me, Swags.
targeting
Don't you think
Cooper
that's a
Kupp.
good,
You
good
guys
sign,
mentioned
though?
Jarvis Landry. I'm probably going to be after Keenan Allen because I think people are sleeping on him this year. I'm not going for a wide receiver one. I'm not trying to say these guys are being the wide receiver. I'm probably not in the Scott Fishbowl. I probably will not draft a wide receiver in the first 6 rounds.
So you're more on you're trying to compile people that
Quarterbacks
are
and
going as,
running
like,
backs.
but just like specifically to wide receivers, are you trying to compile like people that are going as a wide receiver 4 because you believe they're going to end up as a wide receiver 2? And that's how you kind of like build your wide receiver room is like a
Little
bunch.
BB.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of how I build my teams a lot. You know, I mean, if I get like 3 guys that have 800 yards and between 7 and 10 touchdowns, I'm happy with that. Like,
Sure.
and I'm gonna have my points somewhere else. That's just the way I build. I'm not
Is
necessarily
this
advising that, but that's how I'm building.
That's
it
go ahead.
I was just going to say that's exaggerated in the Scott Fishbowl, though, right? Because you've got a scoring
Yeah, yeah,
system
in
that
the
emphasizes
scoring, sure,
rushing,
even a little bit more,
de-emphasizes
yeah.
receiving.
Yep.
So, and it's a redraft, which is predominantly more running back heavy than wide receiver heavy. I mean, wide receivers get increased value and like interest once you add a dynasty element. That's how they get. Honestly, that's the only way they get similar value. to running
Marvin
backs.
Jones. I could see myself having Marvin Jones on my team.
Marvin Jones is a great one.
Yeah.
You know, those types of guys. That's who I'm going to be targeting. But
Yeah.
Do you feel like with those types of players, like, sure, I think they'll increase in value, dependent on who it is, whatever. You can argue all day about that. But do you feel like with that kind of strategy that you kind of have to start playing a little bit more week to week, more matchup based, like who's the corner opposite of them? What's the defense they're playing against, all that? Or like, I'm just saying in general, do you feel that pressure?
I don't feel that pressure. That's probably not the most important part of the question, but yeah, I think that you can play some matchups, kind of like if you get a decent enough like wide receiver 2s and 3s, I think you can play the matchups a little, Gabe, to answer that part. Like, and I think that every wide receiver has the same weekly ceiling, just some of them have a way lower floor.
Yeah.
I think that feels like a take fresh off the 2019 season where it was true for everyone but 2 wide receivers. There's typically about 8 that actually provide a significant advantage week over week. Like 2019, we always get, rightly so to some degree, but overly sensitive to what just happened. And there are a number of wide receivers every year that provide an edge week over week, that have a higher ceiling than the majority. But last year there was just 2 and one, disappeared after 11 games. And so we feel more like there's no wide receivers that can provide an edge. And the other difficult part, especially where I do think we have a dynasty bias here, or Scott Fishbowl in general, most people that are this sick about the hobby think longer term or something, right? Because that's the only way you get wide receivers close to the value of running backs. Because you're worried about injuries at running backs, maybe in redraft, but mostly you can't. Some people say you can predict them, to be fair, and they wear lab coats and shit, so I don't know. But mostly I'm unable to predict who's going to get injured, put it that way. And that's the other way that we can, get wide receivers on the same page in a single year value wise.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say we've been on this stretch of super lucky not having injuries on top running backs for a few seasons after like a decade of top running backs getting injured at a much higher rate. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I mean, no top 5 running backs have been injured in like a number of years now, and we're just like in a lucky patch, I think.
Yeah, to that point, we got like the top 12 running backs. 83% of the players we had, we were drafting inside the top 12, finished inside the top 12, and the major difference is what you're saying. Like that's huge. Because they didn't get injured. Normally they get injured, and I hope that continues. But like, I can't predict.
You're right, though.
And it's probably not going to.
It was. I was just looking at that the other day about I always look at who repeats year after year. Between RB1, RB2, or that changes, and same with wide receivers, all that. But 2017 was definitely the last where that happened, and like there were just so many deaths across the board. Lev Bell, McCoy, Fournette had an injury that year. Devontae Freeman, that fall off started happening. CJ Anderson, I guess, Frank Gore, DeMarco Murray, Marshawn Lynch, like those are just like half of them that like completely fell out of the top 36 the following year. So, I mean, it has been a while, and you'd expect that to maybe not like that happen again, but certainly, happen again.
Right. And to the point that was being made about getting Boyd and these players later, we get overly concerned with breakouts, which is what I've been tracking recently. So like I have some things to say about where they come from, but like that's not the best way to play the wide receiver position. That's the best play for the running back position. Like running backs unexpectedly end up in the top 12 at a higher rate than any other position with any other range, like top 5, top 12, top 36. Running backs get replaced or unexpectedly jump into the top 12 at a higher rate. And that's partly because of injuries and partly because of the nature of the position. With wide receivers, breakouts are intensely valuable in Dynasty, but in redraft, you kind of have to set that aside. For example, wide receivers repeat in the top 24 per Gabe's data that he was putting out the other day more often than any other position other than like tight end inside the top 3. So the players that you want at wide receiver are being drafted later because we're interested in the breakouts when actually they're more likely to finish in the top 24, and the breakouts don't necessarily provide extra value because, I mean, JJ Zachariason was just doing research about breakouts being players that provide exponentially more points than you would expect at their draft position. And that's a better way to look at wide receiver than thinking of breakout the first year they're relevant. And that's the difference between Dynasty and redraft, which is why, to your point, that's why you can snag good running backs that get 800, 900, 1,000 yards later, because we're interested in wide receivers as if they're running backs when they break out, and that's not necessarily the case. Right. It's a gear change between redraft and Dynasty that I think is a little more subtle and gets a little bit overlooked, especially when you get a bunch of Dynasty guys who think we're all kings and we could do a redraft with everyone, and we're like, oh, fuck, my team sucks. I mean, it looks great for next year, but it doesn't exist next year.
Oh, yeah. We're the kings of how it looks on paper.
Right.
No question. And
look at all the value I've got, but there's no trades allowed. Whoops.
Very valuable sixth place team.
and what's a lot of fun to be able to try to figure out this year. And I love Tompkins. I saw what you put in the chat, man, and I love this because he just put it as simple as, hey, best chances to tier jump are who I'm targeting. But then the question becomes, how do you go about targeting the tier jumps, right? And so that's what I find to be very interesting and very risky, because there are an absurd number of factors that go into how we make these decisions, obviously in these drafts and whatnot. But when you're waiting that long to try to be able to figure out who your wide receiver target's going to be, I find it interesting even who you choose to take in those spots. So if you're turning around and getting, I think Kyle put in the chat, if you're turning around and getting Boyd and Diggs at the 7-8 turn as his wide receiver 1s and 2s, and you feel good about that, then like that's exciting to be able to say, hey, I'm not going to address wide receiver until till round 7 and 8, and I'm going to feel great about that because I've loaded up elsewhere. So when it comes to those top guys, the Michael Thomases, the Julios, everybody else, I know never Julio for you, Peter. I get it. But for everyone else.
Sorry, we're in one league together. Who has Julio?
I love
that
that
was
we can
actually
always
something
go back to that.
I meant to put out the other day. Like, speaking of wide receiver ones, just a quick point. Does everyone get that Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the NFL and for fantasy, not just
No.
in the NFL, but
People don't get that. No.
Like I get that we're worried he's going to age and eventually not be that, but like consistently for 6 years, he's been the best wide receiver value and the most productive at cost and the wide receiver one multiple years. There is no competition here. It's not Michael Thomas though, because he's young.
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, that guy.
So let me ask
no
you.
competition as objective as I can be, and obviously I'm not very objective. Like Julio Jones is the best wide receiver for us. Like that's it. Now Antonio Brown's gone. It's just Julio. He's a very different tier. And I get age dynasty, but like it's just a thing I feel like saying because I don't think it's said often because we're always talking about who's good at wide receiver. It's like, but by the way, Julio's the best. Everyone note that. Cool. Moving on.
So even with that being the case, so with all the top guys, how long are you all waiting until you actually take one? Because let me ask you this: what happens if everybody in your Scott Fishbowl league is very much minded, like a lot of what we're seeing in the chat, a lot of what we've talked about? You want to wait on wide receivers. Let's say everybody's going quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs, and it comes back to you in the second and the third rounds. When are you okay pulling the trigger on those top guys?
Right. Well, it seems like waiting is probably the preferable way to go, but like I'm in one mock, or it's not even a mock, it's like a $5 best ball or something. So it's a cheap mock for charity.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I had the 6th pick, and at 207, Devontae Adams was still there, and we're talking about people that could finish as the overall wide receiver one.
Right.
Like I think I'm gonna do it there. That's pretty late to get the top 3 dude. So that maybe I should have been waiting for a few more rounds, but I don't know. I'll just switch things up on the fly if it's like that.
Yeah, of course it's going to depend on exactly that. You can't just say it'll be this name that I'll wait for, and that's when I would pull the trigger. It's all going to depend on your specific draft, who's falling specifically to end of the second or whatever. I mean, I'm sure you could maybe throw a name to it eventually. Like if you were to go down these wide receivers, J-Mike in ADP, and say like, are you comfortable with, looks like the 24th wide receiver in Scott Fishbowl is Devontae Parker. Like, are you comfortable?
Steph Diggs, just saying.
Okay. Sorry. I must be at 23. So, it sounds different when you say Stephon Diggs. I feel like I'm making a point with Devontae Parker. Are you comfortable with Devontae Parker as your wide receiver one on your team?
And I
feel a little better
ADP,
with Diggs.
Yeah, I pull wide receiver ADP from KOB site again. If you all want to check that out as a resource for yourselves, he's got the ffengineer.com/SFBX-mock-ADP. So ADP's there. Sorry, Peter, you were about to make a point?
I was also Kent Wentworth's been tracking ADP. That's what I just grabbed because it's already in an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm that way, and it's pretty interesting. So, yeah, it's which wide receiver in which round. We can do it that way. Like if I'm at 103 and I've only done one mock so far, and to lay my biases out there based on what I think of 2020, if it happens. I'm looking to grab wide receivers. Like I'm honestly looking to take the wide receiver earlier than ADP. I'm trying to lean that way. And Scott Fish is a little unfair to compare it to what the leagues most of us are playing in. Because again, the scoring heavily favors rushing still, even though it's balanced a little bit more this year. And quarterback, and that just devalues the wide receiver position, especially in a redraft. But I'm looking to draft wide receivers. And at the end of round 2, where my second pick comes up, if Julio had fallen to me, I would have taken Julio there. But like the Julios and a back again. So far, I have not been able to reach on wide receiver because it's just not happening for me. But that's only through one mock. It depends on the player that you're reaching on. As opposed to, when do you take a wide receiver? Like Gabe said, it's about what wide receiver where. And so far through 5, 6 picks, I have running backs. Like that's all I have. To be clear, so,
I'm gonna take a top tier wide receiver. I promise.
and I just turned down Odell Beckham, who I just ran it about, for like a rookie running back. And I took him 2 rounds early, according to Kent's ADP anyway.
Yeah, it looks like Juju and Odell are very similar in ADP. So I mean, you passed on Juju, but could you have gotten Odell? And
I could have, in that it was 2 rounds later, and I was on the clock. Odell was available, and I went running back.
Yeah,
because I looked at the future ADP, and it was like, well, there's going to be other wide receivers that I like with that potential, whereas there's not going to be those running backs. So I just took the running back. Actually, I think I took a quarterback. Now I say it, but same thing, same reasoning.
Last year, I didn't.
Wide
take a wide
receivers are just
receiver
falling
until
off the board
11th
a lot
round.
slower because of the scoring and the system.
That's
Say
impressive.
that
again,
again,
Swag?
Swag?
Last year, I didn't take a wide receiver till the 11th round.
Who was it?
Then I got like DJ Shark in the 20th round.
Oh my gosh!
Ooh.
Works out if it works out.
Like that
And-
those are the decisions I feel like that kind of make your team, right? They don't
Right.
like. I don't think those late
Oh,
shots
only
break your
only
team.
if you would have done it after last year.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I was getting snarky.
Oh, I was so confused. I was like, wait, what do you? Okay, I'm with you now. Sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
well, so if you fade running back or fade wide receiver, it works if you hit the right guys later at the opposite
Right,
position.
right.
I think that's fair.
J
Only
Mike, your
works if
first
draft
wide
right
receiver was. Do you know who your first wide receiver was?
I don't remember, man. I would love for you to hit me with that. though.
Brandon Cooks at 504.
Yeah. My team last season, I went with if you look at my draft, which I imagine that you are right now, I literally
For whatever
embraced.
Probably
reason,
just
dude, I have a
memorized them all.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
I have a screenshot of your team and my team. That's it.
I embraced. I
You
went
must
to,
have showed it to me at some point or something. And
Yeah, I went the route of embracing just volatility out the wazoo. And I know I'm not doing that again this year. It was nice. Like I had Zeke up front, which was like, oh man, I'm crushing. Turn around. I think my next 2 picks were Gurley and Fournette. I was like, man, I'm about to, if these guys all hit and I'm taking Cooks, I'm about to get crazy, y'all. And of course,
Yeah.
things went real sour real fast.
I took AJ
hey,
Brown
wake
in
up.
the 17th, and then Terry McLaurin in the 19th, Shark in the 20. I mean, I made some mistakes, but
That's a lot of hits right there.
A
Not
lot
to
of
mention
hits.
two rookie wide receivers to do what they did. But
yeah,
good-
absolutely.
I mean, good drafting nonetheless.
Oh, I
I'm
had
just
some
I'm just
misses,
saying
don't get
I'm
me
just
wrong.
saying this year
I don't know
or
who that
any
is.
year, like I would think that we can't expect the rookie production, I guess.
I plan on being the last person in the Scott Fishbowl to be
Yeah.
wide receiver.
I like that.
So wait, well, I'm sorry, J Mike.
Are you good?
Are you good with? So Stephon Diggs is the 24th wide receiver, apparently, according to J Mike. Which who knows?
According to, hey, you
Who
take it
knows?
up. You take it up with KOB.
Look, I'm with Pete on this one. I'm over on Kent's ADP. Okay, okay. No disrespect. No disrespect, Kev. I got all love for you, but this is just what is here at my disposal. Okay, so
FF Kent, I hear you, Gabe. FF Kent.
I think it's still Devontae Parker. That's the 24th wide receiver. Anyway, Swags, are you comfortable with Devontae Parker as your wide receiver 1?
No, that he's not my guy. I might go after Preston Williams a little later, though.
As your first wide receiver taken? What'd you say?
No, I don't know if I
Sixth
want.
Please no.
I don't know if it'll be my first. So some transparency. My first wide receiver taking last year was Anthony Miller.
Hey, J Mike, you know that guy. How'd he do last year?
Watch him
Pretty
mouth.
crummy. I think he had like 600 yards, and I mean, so I have misses too, but
Oh yeah, no. I'm just curious though, like what we're comfortable with. That's all I'm asking. I don't care about whether we're right or wrong at this point. Just kind of what one is comfortable with in what round. Because you said 6th round that you would take a your first wide receiver, or like that's your kind of your goal of sorts?
Yeah, I won't in the first 6. I mean, somebody I really like a lot would have to fall. I mean, I'm not going to stick to one thing.
Yeah, of course.
If somebody is there that if like Keenan Allen for some reason falls to that area, I'll take him. There's certain players that I will pull the trigger on, but I don't imagine them being there the way people draft.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll absolutely have at least 3 running backs or 4 running backs and 2 quarterbacks, or 3 and 3, maybe a tight end in there. But again, with this scoring and I mean, we keep bringing up all these wide receiver ones as if, what were they, like 200 points away from Michael Thomas?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about him like
for sure.
And then how many running backs scored in front of all of those wide receiver ones and those wide receiver 2s that were making sound important?
Yeah.
Well, you can't play a wide receiver or running back position. So if you want to do like
I can flex them,
like value over replacement, why Michael Thomas had more value over replacement than every running back but Christian McCaffrey. So if you want to do cross position, Michael Thomas was significantly more valuable than running back 2, 3, 4 his position.
That one player, though, that one player.
Yeah, and that's only last year. Normally we get like say about 6 or 7.
But I mean, would you agree?
And not
maybe
all
the
of them are
direction
more
of the
valuable
NFL, though. The direction of the NFL, though, it seems like there's going to be a lot more wide receivers. Like teams are spreading the ball out more. There's more talent on the field. There's not always just that one alpha. And if he is, sometimes he's taking coverage for somebody like Gallup to look like he's good.
I don't think we know the direction of the NFL exactly, and 1 year doesn't necessarily suggest every year is just going to have one wide receiver value.
No, you're right.
I would say there's a trend here. The volume of
Absolutely.
wide receiver 1 is dropping. It's definitely spreading out, but it's been doing that over the last few years. I know part of me just wants to say it's somewhat the talent available, right? We just saw a switch over at quarterback, and now quarterbacks are adding more value than we're used to seeing if you get the right ones. So maybe we're about to see, hopefully, at some point, maybe this year, maybe it'll stay stable like this for a while. But like
you
this
don't
less
like
wide
running
receiver
backs, do you, Peter?
alphas. I just told you I went 6 straight running backs. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
If this is the way things are going, where
I'm just talking about the trend of wide receiver. I don't think we'll consistently only see one with extra value over the field. I mean, it's never as many, and that's part of the strength of the running back position, because if you do grow cross position running backs, that when you get them right, even though they turn over more, they do provide more value than wide receivers at the same position rank, which is why running backs are more valuable. But I don't think we're going to continually see just one wide receiver having value over replacement. Like, I think that's going to change a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
What were you saying?
I think that does change year over year is probably a better way of saying it.
Sure. Well, I was just saying, if this is a new direction, and if this continues on, where there is so much talent on the field for each team, that's not going to only affect wide receivers. That will also affect running backs as well. Running backs will receive less targets; they'll get less usage. So, if this is a top-down view of how the NFL is going to be from now on, running backs aren't going to be more valuable; they'll just be made less valuable, just like the wide receivers.
It is interesting how that is the reverse in fantasy, though. If the NFL values running back less, it gets exponentially. That's probably a word that means something in math. I don't know. But they get more valuable in fantasy because the more of them that are turning over, the rarer they are almost.
True.
Kind of, maybe.
Yeah. Well, then we would just don't use running backs for more than 1 year in Dynasty, which probably it's probably the best way to do it anyways, honestly.
I think yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at the past couple of years with SFB, and it's absolutely certain that the running backs are going to outscore the wide receivers through, about the top 12 to 15 of the position. And then it starts to change, and the wide receivers starting to flatten out, and the running backs start to just plummet.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to look at, season long points scored and kind of make an assessment out of that just because of how much changes, and especially if 2020 happens, it's going to be a lot of frequent changes of COVID, people, contracting COVID and sitting 2 weeks. But just, we thought the biggest issue was a sprained MCL, and now we're dealing with a whole another monster here. But my point is that with those running backs that are plummeting, it's not necessarily that they're, points per game. And sometimes it's easier to look at points per game, but sometimes it's not because they leave the game early or they only play part of the game or the coach is like mad at them because they fumbled or whatever. But there's that whole kind of idea too. And for the most part, wide receivers are just going to play unless it's an injury. And so there's a lot of like plug and play with running back throughout the season. And that certainly happens with wide receiver too. But I guess my point is that we can't just like sum it up to, the 5 RBs outscored Michael Thomas and SFBX. Like, yeah, that's true for the top guys, but it's really, really hard to make that assessment for, beyond kind of the top 10 or so.
7 or 8. I forget. I'm not pulling it up, but yeah, basically. I think it was 7 or 8, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this. They're next to each other in these wide receiver rankings. So just for 2020, and again, roughly the same ADP that we're looking at between the homie KOB and Mr. Wyrock, Kent Wyrock. DK Metcalf, wide receiver 21. Tyler Lockett, wide receiver 22. Who would you rather have for the 2020 season?
Lockett.
Yeah, Lockett.
For
sure. It probably changes things up, and you said 2020. I went Lockett in 2020. If we're talking dynasty, you can talk me out of that.
I know we like binary things in our little world, but like that doesn't mean I don't like DK Metcalf. Been thoroughly impressive his first year. He's one of the most common breakout years he's heading into with a 2nd-round draft pick going into his 2nd year. Like it's a really good breakout potential year for him. But Lockett's, I'm going to talk about value, which makes me sound like such a dynasty guy. But like Lockett's been phenomenal in college. He's been phenomenal in the NFL. He's got everything going from the DK Metcalf goes, and he's proved it more in the NFL, and you get him later. That's all pretty cool.
What do you say, Swags?
I'll say Metcalf.
Okay.
I think, I don't know, he's so talented. I mean, he's one of those wide receivers you could just have 3 plays and get you points. He doesn't need to have tons of targets. I know that we want the PPR in this, but I could see Lockett or Metcalf overtaking Lockett. I don't think it's that crazy. That's what happened with Lockett and Baldwin, and everybody thought that wasn't going to happen, and it happened quick.
But it didn't at all. No, it didn't at all. That's the thing.
No, you're probably right. Like 2-3 years, but Metcalf had 800 yards last year. Like,
and to do that, and you
agree with Peter on is that Metcalf had an amazing rookie season.
Exactly. And you have to take that into account, going forward and whatnot. But I've been going back and forth of trying to make that comparison, with Baldwin and Lockett myself, Swags. And like, I just because I remember it so specifically, I was like, this is the year. This is the year. This
Definitely
is the year.
This one. Yeah.
Never the year.
It was never the year.
I finally put some respect on Baldwin's name, I think, and then he ended up getting a pretty bad injury that year, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think I'm with you on that one, Swags, by the way. Just and I like both guys. And obviously Lockett can do it on very little volume because of obviously Russell Wilson and his efficiency, right? They do things. I think I'm with you on the Metcalf side for this season, although I think they'll both be very good. Anyway, what were you saying?
I'll put Justin Jefferson on my Scott Fishbowl team. That'll probably be like one of those late round guys I target.
Me and you both.
Do you find it difficult? Like, if you target running back early or wide receiver early, you're faced with the inverse towards the end of the draft. And I always hate, like, I like Justin Jefferson. I like Chase Daniels a little bit. There are a few running backs I like, but if I go running back heavy early, those, what do we call them now? Sleeper doesn't make sense anymore. But those running backs I like later is usually when I'm grabbing a few wide receivers because I've gone so running back heavy. and I hate seeing them go off to someone else's team. But you kind of have. Does that happen to anyone else? Like it seems true wide receiver. If you go 6 straight wide receivers, but you really want Lockett later, you can't draft him. You've got to start going running back at a certain point.
Right.
And it's really frustrating.
Because Peter, go ahead, Justin.
That's what's good about having so many teams. You can kind of have that portfolio where if you do like someone, maybe you want them on 6 teams, but you'll settle with having them on 2.
And that becomes a question because there's a difference in dynasty, right? So in dynasty, you can kind of feel decent about maybe being thin at wide receiver because you're hand picking and choosing, and you can craft the team that you want over time, right? You have this long duration to be able to get where you want to be. Whereas with SFB or even in any kind of a redraft league, right, you get one shot at this. And it's random as to what everyone else is choosing. There's not going to be any trading involved. And Peter, like you were saying, and this kind of connects to a point from earlier, you almost feel that internal pressure if you wait on wide receiver, because either you're going to choose to go deep and late at wide receiver, or if you try to stay shallow with a bunch of guys that you're taking late, that could screw you too, because you may not have 3 guys worth starting if you don't hit those correctly. So I think the strategy behind all that and the pressure, the internal cognitive dissonance that you have to deal with, I find that fascinating, and how all of us work through that. That's a fascinating thing to think about.
J Mike throwing out the big words. Anyone interested? Like, I was just looking this up, and the most common breakout for all breakout positions. So quarterbacks at end of the top 12, tight ends at end of the top 12 for the first time, wide receivers and running backs at end of the top 24 for the first time. The one that happens the most often on a season-by-season basis is a running back drafted outside the 3rd round entering the top 24 for the first time. I thought that was interesting since we're talking about breakouts. And again, breakouts to that measure isn't the best thing to consider for redraft. It's more of a dynasty thing. Actually happens slightly more common. It accounts for a single percentage more than running backs entering their first year drafted in the 1st round. So, and they're more likely to happen in general.
So this includes Zach Moss then?
Yeah, I guess anyone drafted outside no, because they'd have to be entering their 2nd or 3rd year.
Oh, right, yeah.
Sorry, I think I forgot to say that actually. But yeah, drafted outside the first 3 rounds. Going into their 2nd or 3rd year, they account for about 7% of all breakout seasons across the positions. So that's what's most likely to see in any individual season. But even then, that's like 7%. So you're not.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to fade. I'm not telling you anything. I just thought it was an interesting number.
It is interesting.
I'm not telling you anything.
You're
I'm not
forcing
telling
me
you
into
anything.
this. Hey,
You don't come here for
into
knowledge.
something here.
Get out of here. Random facts. That's what I do.
Hey, but one last thing on the Metcalf Lockett before, I know we kind of left that for a moment, but because their ADP is already, for both of them, we're expecting them to be top 24 wide receivers, and Russell Wilson doesn't do that. So the bummer part about that whole, Pete mentioned things being binary. You almost have to be between those 2 players, according to history. Like, you kind of have to pick one, and they are going to probably outperform their ADP, and not even by like a huge margin, dependent on other things. But yeah, I don't know.
They both kind of outperformed their ADP last year, didn't they?
What's that?
They both kind of outperformed their ADP last year, didn't they?
Sure, but just in terms of them being both top 24 wide receivers, that didn't happen last year, and it hasn't happened for Russell Wilson, period. With Baldwin, Lockett, with Tate, with Curse, name it. It doesn't happen.
I'd say both can beat their ADP, but you're right. Like, getting in both of them into the top 24 with the Seahawks hampered the way they are by liking running backs maybe a little too much.
Yeah, and Wilson is getting a little bit older. Maybe he's like a little bit.
Don't do it.
I know. No.
Don't lay shade at Russell Wilson's
This
feet.
is not
I've tried
shade.
that.
No, this is.
He just hurts you. He's
this
like,
is a positive thing.
Really?
This is a positive thing. No, Pete.
I would have to be historically efficient to do it. You said I couldn't. I'm going to do it. enjoy your podcast now, little man. Like, I think it's specifically aimed at us. we are his motivation.
J Mike, this is exactly how you feel when I come at you. All right. So
Sorry, I wasn't coming at you. Sorry.
I know, I'm fucking with you. All I'm saying is that maybe he runs less and they let him unleash and throw more, which he is good at. And if he throws more, then that can happen, most definitely, with 2 top 24 wide receivers. That's
Yeah, that's basically the prayer I've been saying for the last 3 years, quietly to myself.
Right.
Yeah, please just let Russell Wilson throw a little bit more.
right.
Please.
That's a Dave Chappelle. That's a Dave Chappelle gif. God, if you listening, I love it. And that's one of the reasons why I asked about those 2 guys specifically, because you talk about moves that kind of make or break a team for you. like both guys would be nice to have, right? But when you're looking at, if you have to make a choice between the 2, if one slightly outperforms their ADP and then one slightly doesn't, even if they both have pretty good years, you'll be disappointed at whichever one finishes as wide receiver 27 instead of 21 where you took him, and obviously the other guy finishes at wide receiver 15 and you feel great about it. So I find that really really interesting.
Can I just ask, for the benefit of people who want to, retweet what if we think the chat is real? Like, is that this banner has me in
Great
stitches?
question.
It's hilarious. I love
Great
it.
question.
But I
Retweet
would like to retweet.
Yeah.
That's why he did it, Pete. Why did you?
I know.
Man, unbelievable.
Because it made me laugh. I wanted to point it out.
How much did he pay you? That's what I want to know.
No.
How many vacated targets did you have to scoop up to actually say that?
Exactly 3 mojitos. I don't know.
So real quick, I did want to give obviously gave a major shout out to our friends in our charity league. So obviously here at the bar we've got a few
Charity
things.
league.
We're gonna. Are you skeptical of everything?
FS Skeptic Bamba.
Oh, happy Father's Day. Who had kids? Who had them?
Have you ever seen kids? I don't think so. That's
Crib
just a
time,
rumor.
what you mean? Yeah, so just major shout out to everybody who's in our eliminators, in the auction eliminator that we're having for obviously the John Bosch Fantasy Cares eliminators, and even for what we finally kind of put together and kind of joked about for a while in terms of people wanting us to have a quote unquote listener league, and we were like, I don't know about it, dog. And then they kept kind of getting at us, and then it kind of hit me and said, hey, we could really do some good here. And we put together a charity league. So shout out to the 26 of you who decided to be a part of that. We're literally almost paid up already within less than 24 hours, which is kind of crazy. There's going to be a Gabe division. There's a J Mike division. And we said that on this show tonight, we would do the random.org raffle to figure out who's in what division. So Gabe, the question becomes, do you want top half or bottom half?
Deep
Yeah, I
pause.
said it. I said it.
You're a
Pause.
top or a bottom kind of man, Gabe. Come on.
Top half or bottom half, Gabe?
Yeah.
Which one you
Are we
want?
doing a draft tonight, by the way? I forget if that's a thing that happens anymore.
Yeah, we're gonna do the bath draft later. We're gonna
Neat.
figure out what people don't want to bathe in. I'll take. Wait, what for? What?
I haven't. As to who's going to be in your division, I haven't randomized it yet.
All right.
Shout out to everybody.
I-
These are everybody's Twitter handles who's in our charity league. Now they're either going to be in the Genius division, which is yours, or the J Mike division, obviously.
I will take the top half.
Top half. All right, randomized coming up.
All right.
3, 2,
Okay.
1.
Okay.
All right, first 13 are yours.
All right.
You've got both of the trade addicts.
Oh, I'm gonna smoke all these fools.
You've got Tran. You've got Zach Reed from the Dummies.
Wait, am I trying to beat them, or are we trying to beat you and your chumps?
No,
down-
they're trying to beat you.
Oh.
They're trying to beat you. And
All
then
right.
at the end, obviously, there's a tournament where everyone's trying to beat each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to have fun with that. So let me update that real fast.
Okay. We got JD, Zach, Jason, Sal, Dio. Y'all are. Hey, Brandon in the chat, the so-called chat. Come on. Oh, and Hardy Har, I get to take down both of the. I get to take. Okay, look, if I beat both Dio and Har, I think the Trade Addicts podcast is legitimately ours.
It is no longer a game, no longer a joke.
Yeah, we have
All
to
right.
have our logo on that somewhere on there,
Very
Abby, for the foreseeable future.
All right. It has been decided. Gabe,
Yep.
these are yours.
RSS feeds are on the line.
There you have it. This could get ugly. All right. Splendid. All right.
When are we doing that, J Mike? Do we get to do it on the show, live on the show?
I told them as soon as we are fully paid, we will do this. Period. No, on the show, no.
Oh, come on, man. You're a coward. What? You can't draft in 15, 20 seconds? Come on, man. And host a show at the same time? Come on, man.
28 people at the same time?
Yeah.
What are you
We're
talking about?
we're the open bar, man. We own the FF industry. We can do this.
I put these in the wrong place. Let's try that again. These going to yours. All right. So, everyone, divisions are set. Hope you all are pleased. Hope life is grand. And I will send this out in the group message later. But seriously, obviously, we're inspired by all of the goodness everyone's throwing around Twitter, and obviously with Fantasy Cares and what SBX is doing. And just a major shout out to everyone who wanted to be able to put funds toward various charities of their own choice that they chose, of their own choosing. And I'm excited to be able to do this with you all. I'm excited to get into this. This is going to be great. This is going to be exciting, and hopefully in the years to come, we continue to keep this going. And obviously, if people, and I didn't necessarily want to advertise this at all, but I will say this: we do have it opened up in terms of a PayPal pool, if you will, if folks want to contribute toward the various list of charities that people have chosen, because a portion of the winnings is going to the winners charity. Another portion of the winnings is going towards the runner-ups charity, and anything that we do over and above kind of what we've already set out, there's a very small portion going to the winner and the runner-up, and everything else is essentially going to charity. So we're excited to be able to do some good. This is easily one of the first, not first, but just one of the things that I am most proud of that we're able to kind of do and be a part of and give back in a sense. So shout out to all of you guys for rocking with us in that sense. So that's that.
Facts. For once, I agree with you, J Mike. It's very well put.
How's it feel?
Yeah, I don't know, a little refreshing, like a fresh squeezed lemonade sip, just a little, just a sip though. Took a little sip down in the garden. All right, what else we got? J Mike check, J Mix check, J Mute check.
Oh, here you go. Good grief. There was actually something else fun that was suggested for us on Twitter. I've got to be able to find the actual website. Our friend David Berger.
Yeah, I like that guy.
He's fantastic. He's fantastic. He actually thought, hey, what if you guys did an actual mock live on the show? He said one person, come on, they do the mock, and they do it from their SFBX position. Now, if anyone can help me find what that mocking website was real fast, because I don't have it pulled up, I'd love to be able to have you guys kind of help us with figuring out what it looks like to actually mock well for SFB. How does that sound?
Sounds fun.
Man.
Okay, Gabe's not about it. Awesome.
I'm with it. I don't. One of us, or is it just like us five and then 7 people from the so-called chat in like a, or what?
Well, Berger suggested it on Twitter earlier, and I thought it was yeah. And again, I can't find the website though, where the actual mocks take place. So you guys are gonna have to filibuster or do something so I can find that.
Okay.
All right. A few things that came up in the chat I'd like to address. 2, I'm not in a library. I just married someone who reads books by simply being near them. I thought I was a very fairly well-read person until I met my wife, and this is like one of 3 bookshelves. And I count for about half of one of these shelves, or about one and a half of these shelves. I'm not in the library. That's just the reason we have so many books. I will point out this is a depressingly large amount of like romance novels. She doesn't like when I make fun of them, but a depressingly large amount of them are like Nora Roberts is a person that writes books apparently, and there's a whole shelf over here with them on there. So yeah, I'm not in the library. I'm married to someone that's a lot smarter than me, which is how I get by in life mostly. Can Peter do a poem with me? Says James. Yes, I would love that, James. I don't know what it was in reference to. I'm just looking for random times my name was mentioned.
I think he meant co with him in the charity league. That's what he means.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's against the rules, but I would be happy to break the rules behind that back if you want to slip into them DMs.
Oh,
I will help ruin that team for you. Like, that's fine. Someone mentioned David Moore, which is basically just to upset me, and it worked. Commissioner McGriff, that seriously worked.
I was
trying me cry sometimes.
I was going to say maybe a strategy is just to take the third wide receiver, and I literally couldn't think of it, so I just didn't.
Tim Patrick would be another of those undrafted free agent heartbreakers, like someone who's consistently proved to be better than everyone else on that roster, but now they've got Colin Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, so that's dead. Kendrick Bourne, though, I actually like, and someone remembered that I like Zach Pascal while they were trolling me with some comment, and it just felt like really warm at heart that you remember that I like Zach Pascal for this year, and so I wanted to call them out, whoever you were. Appreciate that. Zach Pascal, by the way. Interesting enough,
Pete,
going through
this doesn't look good for my brand, man. If you could stop with the whole like reading through the so-called
I was just making it up. It's okay.
Yeah.
Talking about the most likely breakouts, I actually went through that today. Anthony Miller comes up, but he's being drafted like 130 overall, which seems a little high for me. And the reason I brought up Zach Pascal before was because he hit about the same volume threshold last year, and he's undrafted in fantasy drafts. And I find that interesting, 130 to undrafted when he's been just as impressive. And I liked Miller a little bit coming in, but I think Zach Pascal might be a little underrated on the Colts.
Wow.
All right. Very good. And not
I'm making up conversation with my opponents. That's true. I'm just going to keep talking over the hosts and the guests because they're letting me. Like, I don't know why people that have podcasts do this, but if you just talk, they just let you keep going.
Yep.
Like, it's pretty cool. You can have whatever show you want, just be a guest, and then keep talking. And everyone else in the world is way too polite. So, chat, if you want the open bar, all I have to do is be a guest and keep talking. As you can see,
whoa.
As you can see, they just kind of let you have the open bar. It's pretty fun.
No. We are the owners of many podcasts and fantasy football websites. Okay, so if you think you're trying to acquire us and then in turn acquire everything else, you've got another thing coming, Bucko. Now, J Mike, did you figure out this website or what?
I did. So shout out to the folks over at thefootballworkshop.com. They've got a mock draft tool, but wouldn't be us if we didn't mention in our eliminator. And shout out to you, Kent, aka Larry Monkey. Debo's about to go for $42 in 4 minutes. So feel a red line special coming on.
Anyone here a better injury, like an injury expert or someone with a line on Debo's injury? Because I don't know what to think of it.
I saw people were saying once it happened, kind of a 10 to 12 week thing, and that would kind of be right into the beginning of the season or even like mid-September, which I don't like. Yeah, that's not great, I guess, but it's not bad either. I don't know.
Yeah, I got told to project him as missing 2 games, which doesn't sound horrible, but it's not, injuries can linger, I guess.
I don't know if it can.
I don't know about him.
That's the thing is the chance of re-injury if he comes back too quickly, and with that specific foot injury, it's not a good thing. And yeah, you're right, Pete, that it could linger and things, but it's certainly no reason to. Buy swags. Certainly no reason to propel Brandon Ayuk into the wide receiver 1 of rookies. Like, come on.
Ayuk's interesting. He's someone I'm worried about because I'm low on him, but he didn't play enough in college for me to really have really do it with certainty, if you know what I mean. Like you play 1 year, he was great. 1 year, he was bad. Like, which is the truth. And he did get drafted in the first round. I know.
Yeah.
All right. Found this wonderful website. And again, the Football Workshop. Shout out to the good folks over there. I thought this was pretty cool. So, Peter, Swags, you all know what position you're drafting out of?
Yeah, I'm at the 103, if it helps.
Where you at, Swags?
I'm at 112.
Gabe, where you at?
104.
Sweet. Let's shoot something.
And all the other 4 picks, not just 104.
Okay, let's go.
Is anyone
from
leaning QB over running back in the first? Someone asked me that, and it was surprisingly hard to disagree with. Like, I was just wondering.
I would at 104, unless I'm kind of between that and Zeke, or if McCaffrey or Barkley falls.
Right. Just in general,
No.
I mean, there is an argument, like we're talking about value. Well, I was, because I'm an asshole, and talking about value of a replacement, and like with this scoring system, it does kind of make QB a little bit more like running back. I mean, it weeds out some of those players that give you cheap value in normal, regular scoring formats. It's interesting.
All right.
And you made the point recently, Pete, about rushing QBs not really necessarily being the go-to.
Oh, yeah.
QB. Was that for SFB?
basically,
I don't remember.
Players finishing higher in Scott Fishbowl scoring than PPR's regular scoring, they rush a little bit less, and that's because you kind of have to. You're looking for dual threat quarterbacks or safe quarterbacks mostly in Scott Fishbowl scoring, because it prioritizes completions. So like Josh Allen or Blake Bortles from a few years ago, those cheap points really aren't available in Scott Fishbowl scoring. And that's kind of what it kind of links to how QB can be considered, at least early on in Scott Fishbowl, over even running back. And it's not just that it's a super flex, it's the scoring itself.
Yep.
And Justin, what pick are you in SFB?
106.
Okay. So let's use something that none of us are. We'll go with 108. Just so if anybody's watching, trying to get a jump on our strategy here.
Wow.
So we're going with the 8th spot. And yeah, this is fun. So you can kind of tinker with this all you want to, but have you guys seen this before?
No, I haven't. This would actually make a really good episode if you guys have sober, good people on at some point other than me, like Justin and Swags can come back and can have other people like to talk through each pick. That'd be really interesting.
Well, anywho, you're here.
We're just gonna have to make do, Peter.
Just gonna have to make do with me. But I mean, I'm
Like you're
just saying, if you want,
We would definitely invite Justin and Swags back for this. But
29% win weight, baby. It's got Fishbowl.
All right, start draft. Let's have some fun. This will be good, and
All
we'll
right.
even get some thoughts from the chat here. I've got the 101, FYI, 101 in Ghostbusters. Speaking of
Seems
SFB Abbey makers, Jake, Clint. I don't know if Trader Joe's also doing that as well, but my goodness, those guys are crushing work. And if you haven't seen my Abbey on Twitter yet, it's a thing of sheer beauty. Shout out to those guys and everybody else who's putting in work for SFB, but specifically those guys, because I know that they do it year in and year out, and everything goes to fantasy carriers and blah, blah, blah. So
I'd also like to shout out Kent, since me and Gabe both mentioned him, giving out free ADP. That's really cool. I forget his Twitter at, but also Amaze Hayes or Addison Hayes from DLF.
Right.
You can pay like $1 to the charity, and he gives you data from the last 10 years based on Scott Fishbowl scoring. So if you're into data, that's like the deal of a lifetime to get ready for Scott Fishbowl. So the Abbey makers and Addison give money to charity and also get better at the draft. So that's pretty cool.
getting that data from Addison's like Scrooge McDuck diving into his vault of coins,
Yeah,
just swimming.
basically. I've been looking at this thing for days.
All right, the 8th spot. Let's do this. Swags, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, Swags, I'll give you honors here since you're at the bottom of my screen. You'll get first word on this, on first picks here. Ooh, so the running backs go top 2, McCaffrey, Barkley. We've got Mahomes and Jackson going to 3-4. Then Zeke Kamara, and Michael Thomas. Hey, wide receiver sighting at number 7 overall. Number 8. What are your thoughts here, Swags? Are you scared of Dalvin Cook and the possible holdout? Would that make you pass here?
So am I picking number 8 here?
You get first word. Maybe.
Oh,
you can. Sure.
we are all picking at number 8. Okay.
Oh, got you. I thought we
mean,
were
we can
picking
do it.
from our
I
draft
don't care.
spots.
Yeah, that's what
Listen,
I thought. But then I was
kinda
like, I
make
wouldn't
it-
pick Mahomes, and then it happens. Okay.
No. Come on now. No, I can't.
No,
I mean,
we're
that'd be really
with you.
You get first word, Swags.
I mean, I'm not taking Dalvin Cook. I can tell you that much, and a lot of it's just I'm a little hesitant on the injury history there for my first round. I don't know. I can't do it. This is tough. I love the spot I'm in at 12. I have mentally prepared for that in so many ways. Oh man, so I'd probably take Dak here.
Macaroni and cheese.
Dak or Russell Wilson. I mean, that's probably the direction I would go.
All right, so we got it down to 2. Dak or Russ. Who would you guys rather have here with what Swags has said?
Say Dak or Russ?
Mhm.
Russ.
I feel so much pressure. I wasn't ready for this pressure.
No, I'm with you.
worry,
Like,
I'll-
ADP. Interestingly enough, using ADP, picks 5 to 8 tend to be very wide receiver teams because you end up with these running backs like Dalvin Cook, who's great. You're a little worried about his injury, and Joe Mixon, who's great but hasn't really done it yet. And so ADP kind of leans wide receiver, especially after the first round, a little bit more than the other ranges. So it's definitely an awkward position to be in. Of the 2 that you said, I'd prioritize Dak because of the completions that Scott Fishbowl emphasizes. And again, we've talked about Russell Wilson's low passing volume. He's very efficient with it, but Dak's probably more likely to get you those completions, which are prioritized in Scott Fishbowl. So I'd probably lean that way
Are the
if I'm going
completion-
QB.
Are the completions prioritized, or is the completion percentage prioritized?
I'm unsure. I just know completions are valuable in Scott
Because I think
Fishbowl scoring.
it's a -1 for every incompletion.
That's true.
So if you're throwing, I mean, just statistically speaking, if you're throwing anything less than a 67%, then you're losing points.
That's
Fair.
But these points here are accurate as like to this year's scoring with last year's stats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
so completions are 0.5 each, and incompletions are -1.
That's true. But I mean, Dak isn't particularly
Yeah. Okay.
inefficient. You know.
Yeah, I know. I was just clarifying because
Yeah.
Justin had asked.
Oh yeah, I said like 2 points for completion or something. That's way too much.
That would be
not
so OD.
That's not how math works.
All right, so it sounds like we landed on Dak.
I think so. Yeah.
I can just see Gabe getting so frustrated right now.
Because we didn't pick Travis Kelce.
Have you guys ever co-owned a team? Anybody here? Like,
I've never.
J Mike and I have, 2 tight end league.
Yeah,
It was great.
this feels like way more pressure than that.
Well, we did it. Dak was the pick. All right, Kelce
Travis
and I.
Kelce went
Oh,
next.
and Kelsey went right away.
Yeah.
This is a co-owned team.
All right, so off the board,
Hey, we
Kelce
started the QB.
started the old QB run. Kelsey, Cook, Mixon, Henry off the board. This is for those listening via podcast.
Oh
as we
man.
In the second round, start off with Nick Chubb, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. Back to us. Justin, what say ye here?
George Kittle.
I was about to say we've got Kittle, we've got Tyreek, we've got Miles Sanders as the next running back. Kittle, I like Kittle. So, what do you guys think, Kittle here?
It would be
I hate
Kittle or
this
Adams
team.
for me.
Look like 170 targets.
Hey man, you don't get to a 29% win rate in the Scott Fishbowl by following the advice of these smart guys here. Okay, if you want to get as low as me, you gotta ignore something.
It is. All right, I'm gonna listen to these.
Okay, I just okay.
You get next, Peter, and we'll only just do everybody gets one go at this. I just want to see what the team looks
Man,
like.
look where Deshaun Watson fell to there.
Like Josh Jacobs was like right there.
Yeah. Godwin,
Wow,
Gurley.
Baker's really late, doesn't he? Dang.
How about that? Aaron Jones. So, and this is really interesting. The guy who takes McCaffrey also gets Julio.
Yeah, that's garbage.
I like that.
what is the cheat code? This is ridiculous.
Aaron Jones.
We're
isn't
getting our butts kicked by a
necessarily
bot
crazy.
here, boys.
So, do you guys care about the week 13 with the Carolina Panthers? They play week. That's their bye week, and that's also the first week of Scott Fish playoffs.
Interesting.
That's interesting. I mean, maybe I'm just ill prepared as a fantasy player, but especially this offseason, I haven't even looked. Like I've been just ignoring bye weeks altogether. I haven't even paid attention, which is probably not the best way.
Actually, Two Drink brought it to my attention, and ever since then, I don't know. It's kind of made me think a little bit there.
Really?
I don't plan on making the playoffs, so you know.
So would you lean Barkley at all because of that, or like
Anyone-
yeah,
Mahomes?
I would, yeah.
But here's the other thing too. If you think about it, if you take CMC and ideally your team crushes like you hope, you get the first round bye, and you don't even have to worry about week 13. Now, obviously, what are the odds of that? I don't know. I'll leave that to the nerds to figure out, Peter. But that's
Yeah, that's a good point, though. That's a good point.
that's just something to consider, right? So if I'm crushing like I hope and I've got this McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Julio start and don't blow the rest of it. I mean, not that you have to rely on the bye, but if ideally if you have someone like that and you end up getting a bye, then all of a sudden it doesn't become a question. So I find it interesting.
I mean, by week 13, you might have found someone on the waiver wire that's starting for their team anyways.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's not Christian McCaffrey that got you to the playoffs. Well, I mean, sure, that might have happened last year, but he wasn't the 101 last year, but he was definitely like the 104 or 5 or so.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He was
I'll
in
just
that.
stop talking.
He was in that big tier with almost the same tier as it is right now with
Yeah.
Barkley, Zeke, and Kamara. And it's just like we talked about earlier, like the first 4 running backs off the board finishing as the top 4 running backs again is like, not that you shouldn't draft these guys, but we're on a lucky few years here for these dudes.
J Mike, you've got the 101. What is your plan?
I'm not divulging that. So no, I'm just kidding.
Don't want anybody in front of you to
101.
take your guy?
Yeah.
The 100 is going to take his CMC.
He doesn't want to provide comfort to the 102.
Yeah.
His own edge. Everything in me right now leans toward one of 2 players.
I'm either taking one player or I'm taking the other player, guys.
DK
But I
Metcalf
am
or
taking
Tyler Lockett. That's what
I
we're
promise
here
you
for tonight.
this: I am going to make a draft pick.
I will
If we
have a
get
pre-draft.
his jersey number, will you divulge the information?
Swags, it's fun because, and this is kind of why this is what messes with me a lot as I think through 101. When you're sitting at 101, obviously, for me, if we're just looking at the 4 guys that went off the board here in this draft, McCaffrey, Saquon, Mahomes, Lamar, right? If it's a dynasty startup, right, people are probably going with Mahomes and feeling great about it, and life is good. The really interesting thing about this, especially when you throw in a wrench like you were talking about with the week 13 bye, is that you really question and this 2-3 turn I feel like is pivotal. With 101, I feel like you cannot screw up this 2-3 turn, right? Because it's going to be massive for basically the ceiling of your team. It feels like for me anyway. And I could be talking out of my neck with this, but if I go McCaffrey, then the question becomes, what does this 2-3 turn look like? And I don't think I'm upset with Aaron Jones and Julio at that point, or Julio in the third, or whatever that would look like if that's the case. But if you go Mahomes and then like you try to start something with quarterbacks and then like quarterback doesn't really move like you want it to, then it becomes just kind of depressing to some degree that you didn't create any kind of urgency for people to kind of get with it. So then at that point, if we look at the board, your RB1 becomes someone like Aaron Jones or CEH or Austin Eckler, and I don't know that I feel great about that. So I haven't decided what I'm doing yet, but it's probably between one of these first four guys, and I'd really be okay with all of them.
Went from 1 to 2 to 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we
Taking
expect
one of them.
we expect your
I would be
draft
I would be
strategy
thrilled with-
to be divulged by next week's show, J. Mike. Okay.
I would be thrilled with any one of these 7, to start the.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
I mean, if
taking
you
But
really
the
open it
line,
up-
the line is at Dak Prescott. Okay, got it.
If you really open it up, I mean, I could really be talking in the Kittle at 101. So, I mean, that's 17 guys that I'm feeling really comfortable with at 101.
You should just use this website to do your draft, J. Mike.
maybe I will.
I'm just gonna do a few mock drafts. All right, while I wait.
I just find that fun. I find it fun. And Swags, I didn't even think about the week 13 thing because I hear people talk about that in like FFPC leagues and how that's their first week of things. And obviously, you don't want to get left hanging in an FFPC league because it's a ton of money on the line and whatnot. But this is interesting. This is interesting.
What's the week 13 thing, please?
So the playoffs start in week 13. You don't want to be minus your best player, right? So if I have an awesome year, and you get a bye, then sweet, that's awesome. But if you don't get a bye and you've got to fight your way out of that week, it's almost like having one arm tied behind your back, or at least that's the way I see it in my head. So you don't want to be out in the woods with McCaffrey's got a week 13 bye, and you don't have him for the week you need the most points possible.
I mean, would you downgrade McCaffrey to the running back 2 because of the week 13 bye?
It's an argument.
3,
Yeah.
how far does it go?
No, I don't think I'd entertain like Zeke or Kamara or anybody like that at 101, but I definitely would entertain at Saquon. Yes,
Okay.
for sure.
I would take Jonathan Taylor here, by the way, if we're still doing the thing.
If we're still doing the thing, let's do the thing.
I like doing things.
We don't want to, man. Come on, guys. You better
All right, your
hope
turn,
Matt
Gabe.
Ryan lasts. You better hope Matt Ryan
You
lasts, guys.
shall,
He's here.
but you don't need to take him.
Oh, we
Is
don't.
that your pick, Gabe?
I mean, it's your pick. Okay.
Yeah, Gabe,
well,
this is your pick.
well, if it's our pick, then I
Well, we
want
worked our
to
way up.
our way. Oh.
My only thinking is because we were in quarterback fairly early here and we've got a solid one, there are some quarterbacks later that I think are getting undervalued that I really
Yeah.
like after we. But I mean, Matt Ryan's fantastic value here. It's just
Well, I would like I honestly forgot we took Dak, but I would like to say that I'm comfortable with that Matt Ryan as QB1.
it's really good. Drew Brees slipped here as well, like really, really fun.
Yeah.
He's our QB2.
Yeah, someone in the so-called chat mentioned Drew Brees outscoring both Dak and Russell Wilson
pretty
in
So
this,
who's
in
your
this
pick,
scoring.
Gabe? Oh
So-
my gosh.
What?
So who's your pick here?
Oh, what? Hey, okay, look. In the third round, we were
I
just sitting
remember
around.
someone called
dilly-dallying
John Michael
for 5,
Scheck talking
6
about
minutes.
"Don't rush me on the clock." He had a very
Unbelievable.
impassioned speech about how he was enjoying himself. I mean, I think we should extend that to game.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
you
want
talk
my
you
5 to
talk
6 minutes.
about me bringing up 17 guys I take at 101, and
Yeah.
here you are bringing up, well, Matt Ryan, or I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. Well, I was going to do some respect for Pete and do Juju or
You take
Odell.
whoever you want, bro.
Here,
What's that?
Rex Grossman.
Or Josh Allen? I see he there. He's.
Don't do it, Gabe. Don't do it.
I
you
would
want Matt
never,
Ryan?
ever do that.
Okay.
I-
The obvious
like-
answer is Cooper Cup. So I mean,
I'm cool with Juju. Sounds fun. Let's do it.
Oh, speaking of Gabe, someone asked earlier how much they'd have to pay for you to draft Cooper Cup in the Open Bar Charity League.
Oh, like
he did.
Like, how much would they have to donate to charity to get you to draft Cooper Cup in the Charity League?
tell you what, we can make an exponential deal of sorts. Peter was kind enough to use that mathematical term earlier, and basically the value just increases more and more each time. So I'll tell you what, J Mike, Cooper Kupp. Who are the players that I tend to dislike at their value? Cooper Kupp, Damian Williams.
Damian Williams.
Who else? Who else? Josh
Raheem
Allen.
Mostert
Josh
is
Allen's
ranked
probably
in the
he counts,
fifth
right?
round.
Josh Allen.
Can
yes.
you imagine? Wow.
All right, so we can come up with more. I feel like people know me better than I know myself about players that I dislike or that we clown on this podcast. But however many that we come up with, we'll do it in increments of like, I don't know, starting at like $5 and double it from there. And I'll take all the players that I hate or dislike. So starting with Kupp, I guess, starting with the highest ADP.
All right, you guys heard it here first. This gets to be my pick. We built a team that has Kittle, which I love. Not enough in the running back department at this point, but Lev Bell, I don't know how much I love him. Connor, Mostert. Hey, Peter, I know we were all aboard the David Johnson little first round this year, but I'm just going to say it now. I'm all aboard David Johnson just later this year. I'm kind of excited to have him on the team. Anyway,
Yeah, me too.
I am not. I still want it's Duke Johnson over David Johnson this year,
Oh,
guys.
my gosh. I'm done with you, Gabe.
Justin,
Just-
you're I'm not sure what happened, but we can't hear you all that well, my man. Or I can't, at least. Is that just me?
Audio's kind of funny, Justin. I don't know what happened.
I can hear you, but it's very, very quiet.
I don't know who would you guys go with here in terms of. Well, I kind of want to take AJ Brown, but we're kind of hurting at running back, and this scares me a lot.
What pick we on? Oh, we're in the fifth round. Can
Blame
you believe
Peter for that.
Radio Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert is a fifth round pick right now in the Scott Fishbowl according to this ADP? I mean, can you imagine?
In the sense
like-
that he should be like a 55th round.
There you go. Add Mostert to the list
Yeah.
of most hated games.
Damn it.
Oh,
Why
I'm
do I
on-
just
I'm
show
on-
my hand all
I'm
the
on
time?
train with that.
Thank you, Pete.
I mean, David Johnson is in this range. If you want to go quarterbacks, we missed out on last round. Like Kirk Cousins around here is around ADP, and I think he's a really good player in this format, depending on what you think of Minnesota this year. No, just throwing out ideas since it's not mine. You could also reach on a David Montgomery if you want to go running back, Mark Ingram. Or we've
Cousins
got some
already-
wide receivers that are interesting. Again, at pick 8, you end up looking a lot at wide receivers, honestly.
Spags, what if I take your boy James Conner here?
Oh, that's gross.
I know it is,
This
right?
team is way too well rounded for my liking. My planets are completely
I
unaligned.
know. How did we take one of each position for our first 4 picks?
I don't know,
So
but I'm taking
gross.
AJ Brown here, and I don't love it, but I'm doing it anyway.
Over Keenan Allen.
No, this is a weird spot.
I mean, Keenan Allen right here, if you're going to go wide receiver.
I don't know. I mean, I don't. This is weird. I'm so glad I don't pick at 108.
Yeah, one of those mid picks are tough this year, man. In this,
I'm taking Lev Bell. Just do it. That's gross. All right, so through 5 rounds, that would be our team. Wow, we did not. Yeah, I don't like what we did there, guys.
You
Yeah.
did
not
that.
like it.
Yeah, my pick being the first of the 5, easy. All right, this game was fun. I'm done with that.
This is terrible.
Oh, it went away.
Again.
Oh
Hey,
gosh.
Mike,
we have
what the
one
heck? We were
quarterback.
having fun.
Oh, it's so gross.
Was it we
Anywho.
just didn't like that draft. We weren't about it.
Yeah, if you're
went away.
picking mid-round in the Scott Fishbowl, I really think most of your values or your exciting players to draft, if you will, are going to be wide receiver, and that's really tough in that scoring system. So you're going to have a reach on running backs or quarterbacks if you don't want wide receivers. Like picks 5 to 8 really seem that way. Ish.
Yeah, I think Swag for what you were saying in terms of just being well rounded. Like when I look at the draft, it doesn't feel good. Like when you try to And I think in a lot of drafts you're like, hey, stay water, right? You want to stay
Right.
water. But
I am not well rounded.
Yeah.
I would have sold him that way.
I don't know. Anyway, that was fun. I did enjoy that. I loved hearing your all's insight.
I mean, but did you even notice, like we didn't talk about it, but even how far Zach Ertz fell compared to the other 3 tight ends?
Yeah, we can.
Somewhere, was it like the
Waller
fourth
as
there,
well seems to be falling a little bit.
Ertz
Yeah.
was, of course.
I've been seeing it.
So this is
Still quiet,
so
Justin.
Ertz went
Man,
at the end of the 3rd here, and Mark Andrews went at the end of the 2nd,
Yeah, that was generous for Mark Andrews.
and then Waller at the beginning of the end of the 4th. What was generous for you?
Mark Andrews at the end of the 2nd seems generous.
So you're not putting him in the stratosphere of Kelsey Kittle this year, because I feel like that's a heavy wave that's been rolling right now on Twitter and Dynasty Twitter.
I would prefer to have. I guess I'm just not ready to make that commitment on a run first offense of, are we sure Lamar can be good at throwing with obvious regression coming soon, and Andrews with injury history, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I just wouldn't put my chips on a top 3 tight end as like my floor for Mark Andrews. Like, it was cool to draft Mark Andrews last year because he was like tight end
super cheap.
Yeah, tight end like 15 or 20 or something. Like, now that he's tight end 3, like, that's really rich. Like, Kelsey's fine because he's the tight end 1 for forever, years in a row. And then Ertz is still that dude, and kind of getting a little bit of some disrespect here at the end of the 3rd. So I'd prefer Ertz over Andrews based on history and value.
Okay.
I'm curious, J Mike, can you scroll super quick so I can see how many points Derek Carr has?
Yes,
I know
sir.
that sounds gross, but he has.
Um,
I think he was like quarterback 9 in this.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, he's not there.
No. Oh, here he is. Derek Carr.
Look at that. That's
269.9.
crazy. So that's pretty good. Man, do you think he lasts that long though? Honestly.
Well, let's double check ADP real quick.
Still quiet, Justin.
Justin, you left and broke it. I don't know what you did.
Sign it.
So take. I'm not going to be able to.
I also mentioned, or I also did not mention Kittle because I see here someone asking about if
93.
Debo's injury hurts Kittle. Kittle's injury hurt Kittle, first of all, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we're not sure what we can say about that yet, because I don't know what the splits are on that. I don't think we saw enough of like Debo crossed over with Kittle to figure out like what's needed for them both to succeed, or just for one to succeed. Obviously Debo was fine without Kittle, and so maybe the same is true for Kittle without Debo. I don't know, and Ayuk is there, and a couple other wide receivers in there next year, and that same offense might help. So, but still, tight end 2 is a lot of faith. Not for me.
I think Kittle's fine. It's just always how hard to draft early tight ends that are a consensus early, because like they were just saying, the other early tight ends come like 3-4 picks rounds later. Not picks.
Yeah.
Like you can get Ertz, you can get Waller and load up on running back or whatever your preference is before you do it. Like it's hard to go Kittle, Kelsey, who everyone's going to draft in the first 2.
Yeah.
Typical tight end problem. No one will accept what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
even know
let's
what that
can
means.
we figure out what our Andrews and Waller are? Because I don't care about Andrews and Waller this year. Like that's too rich for me. I feel like that's just too expensive of a in quotes floor. So like what are the tight ends that are going to be top 5, or even top 6, 7 this year?
Waller in the
comparison
5th
to
and
the
Evan
ADP.
Ingram in the 7th, according to ADP. Like they seem like where I'll start to be pretty thirsty, to use a gay word. If they fall to me at my pick, like that seems like the potential of a Kittle, Andrews, Ertz several rounds later. But I took Hunter Henry using that strat last year in Scott Fishbowl, so that didn't work out.
But
I
deeper.
feel like everybody's forgotten about Evan Ingram at this point.
I know.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about him.
Jeez.
Again, the problem is Hunter Henry last year, but like in the 7th round, Evan Ingram, that seems pretty cool. People are already seeing Jono Smith. Like, no, we all see you coming, man. Everyone's targeting Jono Smith. You're gonna have to draft him at least 2 rounds ahead of where he's at if you want him in your draft. I love Jono, but he's not any more likely to break out than say Gesicki's another name that you mentioned at the same time. But I kind of like some of these second-year tight ends, Hawkinson, Fant. There's nothing they did wrong year 1.
Hurst,
Tight
I like
ends
Hurst.
break out in year 2 pretty well.
Hurst could be like a top 6 dude. Just takes Austin Hooper's target share.
Yeah, that'd be a nice
I don't like
transition.
Hurst at all, actually. He's
Oh,
been
really?
drafted ahead of Hooper, by the way.
I don't.
Oh
I don't
wow,
mind that.
he is. I was
Yeah.
like looking. I was looking for him in like 15 to 20 territory, and I couldn't find him. Oh
Honestly,
my gosh.
the best reason I can think of everyone liking Hurst is we're all really older than these players, and we're like, yeah, the old man. Let's go for the old man. Like
Yeah.
that's
Hurst is older than Hooper.
No, thank you.
Is he really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Hurst was older than everyone
younger
in the NFL the year he was drafted.
Yep.
He's
I think Hooper's younger than Evan Ingram by a couple minutes at least. Not much, but Hooper's young. People are sleeping on him.
Hooper's a good one too. 9th round.
I'm used to getting shit on, so I'll say this. I think that Eric Ebron's worth a look with Ben Roethlisberger.
No,
I agree.
I'm totally into that. It makes
I
a ton
am
of sense.
tired of this year is the year that the Pittsburgh gets a tight end of something. But I mean, Ebron's being drafted in a place that it's fine. Like last year, everyone did it with whoever, but they were drafted him far above where you can get Ebron right now. And so, I don't hate that this year too much.
I don't either. And now that Ebron is no longer opposite of Jack Doyle, is that possible? He's 20th
Jack
tight
Doyle,
end coming off the board. That's not terrible.
Everyone's expecting Indianapolis not to use the tight end now, I guess. But Jack Doyle seems like a solid value where he's going.
What do you guys think about Higbee? I feel like I'm hearing way too much about him. I think
way too much.
they also just drafted a tight end. Like I don't understand his like.
And Everett's
top 5
still there,
upside.
and
I
he's of the McVay era. So
Right.
I mean, it's like, I don't get it.
I would take the more athletic, more productive, better player several rounds later in Everett. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
And the what
Be
I
my
have
play
seen
of
on
that.
Twitter way too much. Everyone's like take of the same thing on the splits between Everett and Higbee. Of when Everett's not there, Everett is there. Whatever for Higbee, just complete like half the production. So I mean, if you're banking on an injury to Everett, okay, but that's a weird strategy.
I think I want to correct myself. That I don't think Higbee was less productive that much. He was productive when he was on the field and stuff. But if you go for an Irv Smith, frankly, or a Higbee, then you're like, I hope I get that Jason Witten upside. But he was like the top 12 tight end that you kind of wish you didn't have because you wanted a top 5 tight end. And I think that's kind of their upside. I mean, it's fine. It's just not kind of what I'm shooting for.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because wasn't J. Mike saying the difference in fantasy points per game between like the 12th and the 30th tight end was like 1.5 or something?
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
You want to try to shoot for as high as you can because you don't want the 12th best tight end because it's not going to do anything for you.
You basically want the top 3 tight ends, and that's only recently. It used to be the top 2, top 1 tight end was the only one that mattered. Now we've had Waller break out and Ingram's been pretty good. And so we can go to top 3. But after that, it's just stream, baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, that is a wrinkle in the Scott Fishbowl. Streaming's a little harder. Your roster's tight. You
Really
can't
is.
trade. Everyone's going to pick up the guy you drop. So streaming's a little more difficult in that particular league because you can't like pick up Everett and drop him every week because you won't have him when you want him. So there's an argument for that.
There's still, I mean, I agree with you for sure, but I mean, there's still just going to be players. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if guys like Joku were undrafted, honestly.
Right. Exactly.
Jimmy Graham might be undrafted, Josh Oliver, some guys I'm just kind of rolling over here, but they all have, especially this year, assuming we have football, a very opportune moment given some sort of injury to Hooper or I forgot who I even said before that, but I guess Josh Oliver might be the starter.
Oh, yeah,
unless
Josh
it's,
Oliver's the guy.
unless it's Oshag Hennessy.
I love Kyle LaPonte's point here about Trey Burton. Difficult to draft him in a roster size like the Scott Fishbowl, but talking about the Jack Doyle pick, Trey Burton's actually really interesting this year if you can find room for him. He's got an interesting name. Everyone's been hoping for Ian Thomas forever, and he's going in the 13th round, right above Jack Doyle. So, I mean, there's plenty of guys down here. If you miss out on that, I think was pretty consensus between us. Waller, Ingram, maybe Hunter Henry tier. Then you just wait until the second tier when you get Hooper and Fant and Gesicki, and then it's just take your favorite sleeper. If you don't get a lot of those guys. Anyone still holding out hope for Chris Herndon?
No.
I like Chris
No.
Herndon. I'll take Chris Herndon, sure.
I can't.
Yeah.
If he's real, to use a popular trope I saw on Twitter, if he isn't just a rumor that the Jets are telling us about because he was always just about to start and it never happened, but if he's in fact exists, and I don't mind him.
I'm still waiting for the Herndon season, and I'm still waiting for the Austin Safarian Jenkins season.
Right.
Can't wait.
Well,
I'm
Herndon
still
showed
waiting.
up in his rookie year. Then he got
Yeah, he did,
suspended
yeah.
and injured.
That's why we like him.
He just he hasn't been on the field.
Yeah. Josh Gordon shows up a lot too, but he keeps getting suspended and not playing
Herndon
football.
has had a weird career. for
That's
sure.
a little different.
Yeah, he was just a continual disappointment. Because I went in on him. He was efficient his rookie year. He was impressive, athletic, age, whatever. But then every week it was like, he's just about to play. Like, just tell us he's done, man. It's like week 16. He might get on the field this week. Okay, I think I've given up hope. And, it's not rational, but we just get fed up with waiting.
For how
I think
excited
we hate the Jets.
It's just yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Entirely, yeah.
Yeah. For how excited people are about the Arizona offense with Kyler. And I guess you could say that they just don't have a tight end talented enough worth drafting, and it looks like Max Williams is like the guy, which is
Dan
like,
Arnold, man.
I can't
know,
tell you how
but-
excited and upset I am they drafted Denzel Mims, one of my favorite rookies, and it's like the Jets. Really? Can we fire Adam Gase now? Just please, just a little bit.
yeah.
It'll happen. Yeah, I would buy low on Jets offense, just knowing that Gase will be gone someday.
Someday.
For somebody like Denzel Mims, and look what Crowder did last year in that offense. He did pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just got to hope for a sub 500 season, but even that might keep them around, like a 7-9, 6-10. You never know. You hope not, but it certainly could, I suppose.
At this point, my expectation for a Gase offense is as long as they doesn't try and convert him to an offensive lineman. Like, that's a weird kind of thing I kind of expect at this point. Like, we're rolling out Denzel Mims at kicker. It's going to be great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gase. Appreciate that. But yeah, I really do like Mims, and that offense has a lot of potential despite.
Yeah. I think that offense could go either direction. Like it could be just as pitiful. Like they bolstered up their offensive line by just like throwing stuff against the wall. Like they took Becton and signed a bunch of free agents and stuff. I don't know. They could gel and they could turn it into something great, or Darnold could look like a bottom 12 quarterback and just have a nasty offense again.
Yeah, and shout out to Kyle in the chat as well. When it comes to they also had Griffin on the team last year, Ryan Griffin, formerly of Houston Texans fame, and I'm pretty sure they extended him sometime either toward the end of last season or in sometime during the offseason, which
really
I found interesting as well.
Bad point.
Yeah, so I find New York to be curious, a fun place. Obviously, I love Denzel Mims. I don't know what to think of the offense, man.
Just to go back to more tight end than Jets, we can go back to it, but someone just posted his name in chat, and it's like a beacon. I see, like, anywhere in the world that his name comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, don't forget Jimmy Graham's gonna probably have usable weeks just to frustrate the hell out of all of you trying not to stream. Like, he's gonna be better than most of these guys we're talking about, at least parts of the season.
He's gonna have like a 26% touchdown rate. It's like,
Yeah.
40 catches and 13 touchdowns or whatever.
Damn right.
Get Cole Kmet's autograph.
Did you know he
before
played
leaves
basketball?
That's right. Swag. That's right, Swag.
I've heard he used to be able to dunk. I don't know if that's still
Weird. I hear Cole Beasley can dunk. Little known fact.
really. Is this like
You didn't know? Actually,
play
you didn't
school?
know. No, there's a video of it somewhere.
Oh.
I live on Twitter too much, obviously. But yeah, Cole Beasley can dunk. man.
Mr. Beasting.
Mr. Beast. Oh man.
I love Cole
Golly.
Beasley. He's been such cheap, good fantasy value for years now. And now he's going to get Stephon Diggs, but still.
Dims the brakes. Dims the brakes.
I had an amazing NFL career, at least. Like, respect to the dude.
Respect. That's for sure. Anything else you want to hit before we kick rocks here? Anything else
bunch of
burning?
stuff. What are you talking about?
Peter,
Got a whole NFL to break down. We've just done tight end, and it took us 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, buckle up for running back, baby.
It's only tomorrow now.
Yeah,
only.
It is
yeah.
fun now. That's
Eastern boys.
astute.
All right then.
All right, let's get it.
Let's get it then. Let's start over. Let's pull up the draft again, J Mike, and start from the 109.
Can we just
Started
talk
from the
about
top.
start 3 tight end leagues real quick?
Yeah.
It's such a
Oh my god.
Wow.
Let's
I
break
broke.
it down. All right. This was good. This was a grand old time. Is this our last show? This is the last show before SFBX, correct?
Yep.
That's correct.
6 days.
We're about 5 days out from SFB, and this is
All
it.
right.
Last show of June.
You
We're now
will
in-
know J Mike's 101 next time
know.
you record.
This is what we're waiting for. What will
Maybe.
101 be? Or he might just milk it. Yeah, it's true. He might milk it.
I might milk it and get kicked out of SFB because I didn't make
You timed out the 101.
Yeah.
Look, dude. You gotta go.
You're gonna get kicked, Jim. You're gonna get kicked. Is just before you go, not that this is gonna set off a large conversation, and that's secretly my plan. Is there a rookie this year that you think could do an AJ Brown, could break in, be fantasy relevant, jump up in value? Who's your one guy from this rookie class?
Is that a wide receiver question?
I was gonna say maybe we should take running backs out of that because we're all just gonna say the boring ones.
Let's keep it specific to wide receivers then.
Or tight ends, if anyone's that crazy. Anyone got a
No,
tight
let's-
end from the
let's
2020 class?
Let's
Yeah,
not. We will. So to with
No
that
one believes in Adam Troutman. I got it. I get it.
I got him all over the
give
place.
him a few years.
Love that. Man.
I do like him and I value at that. But all right, so we'll do that with in coordination with your outro, Pete. Okay,
All right.
save some time, some effort here. So question is, who's your AJ Brown? Has to be a wide receiver, has to be, a rookie, of course, breaking out. this year. Did AJ Brown even technically break out? I mean,
Yes.
what? Oh, okay, got it.
I mean, how do we want to measure it? Evaluate draft position or first 24 season?
I know. I just always
I love you.
I
Gabe.
always laugh at the like the definition of breakout, I guess.
Yeah,
is
that's
always
true. And also, I hate the
but I
question:
do-
who is your next ex player? I mean, none of them.
It's-
But
it's why we're here though. So all right. So
I don't even
answer
like
that
football,
question.
honestly.
And then, hey, Justin, by the way, good job on figuring out the mic. Welcome back.
I figured it out. Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Justin, mic check. What's up? All right.
The other Jay.
So you were go around the horn here. You will say that AJ Brown type of wide receiver, and then you have the opportunity to share whatever you'd like to share about yourself, plug things that you want to plug. Now's the time to do that. So because you posed the question, PA Howdy, FF poses questions. All right. You are up. This is your time. Who is your AJ
interesting.
Brown and who are you?
Specifically to trigger Zach Reed, I'm not gonna say his. It's his guy. Denzel Mims. I'm gonna go with Denzel Mims. Like I really think he could surprise us. He's a phenomenal prospect in an open offense. If we can just like keep the coach away from the team for a little while, I think he has great potential in 2020. That's it. I like Denzel Mims. You're up, man.
Peter, do you have a podcast that you'd like to share? Or
Sure.
a Patreon, maybe?
I mean, yeah, don't we all? But yeah, Dynasty Crossroads at Dino Crossroads on Twitter, at Dynasty Crossroads, I guess, on whatever podcast app you learn. Swags, Justin, if you would like to come argue with me, or have a pleasant conversation, preferably, but argue with me, anytime, let me know. Hit me up, man. I feel
Absolutely,
like
man,
we could
anytime.
get some
For sure.
frustrating arguments going, and that would be fantastic. Typically,
Oh, it's my favorite.
Typically, believe it or not, I'm not trying to be antagonistic, and I've yet to actually have a guest who argued with me. They're mostly very reasonable people, but we keep trying. So yeah, Dynasty Crossroads, check me out, or on Twitter at PA Howdy. Thanks very much, guys. I really enjoy talking to you every time I get a chance to, even if I'm in the non-existent chat.
Good to have you back, Pete. Thank you, man. I do like to see you in that so-called chat. And the one-liner that you come through with that I will not say, because this is a family-friendly
Fair enough.
podcast. Yeah. No. So, but hey,
I just say
I was
hello.
gonna-
I don't know what he's talking about.
That's right. He does. You're a gentleman. I was gonna say I'm totally with you on the Mims thing, especially your point about the vacated targets and for the New York Jets. Great
Bro.
call. No. I mean, the Jets
Bro.
are what top 3 in the NFL for vacated targets, and particularly in air yards. So I think that's a great point, Pete. I'm with you on Denzel Mims. All right, next one. Justin, the noob, then the N00B. La di da di da. It's the N00B. We had to go with it. Well, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. Give me your AJ Brown this year, as well as anything that you'd like to share.
Right on. It's been a pleasure to come and chill for the very first time at the open bar. My AJ Brown has nothing to do with talent and everything to do with a decimated wide receiver crew, and I'll go with Jalen Reagor because I'm not sure Alshon Jeffrey can finish the season. I'm not sure Deshaun Jackson can finish this season, and I don't think Zach Ertz can be the wide receiver 1. So I'm just going to go with Reagor. With that, you can find me on Twitter there, and I'll be writing for 4 for 4.
It's a podcast, dude.
I don't have a podcast. Oh yeah, it is a
No,
podcast.
they can't see it.
Oh yeah. Only some
Justin
people can
Redwoods,
see this.
by the way.
At Justin Redwoods. Yes. And the audio version, you're not going to be able to see that. Yeah, so I'll be right at 4 for 4. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for saying that. Just another reason for everyone to be here live Tuesday, 9:30
Exactly.
Eastern-ish. Otherwise, you don't get people's handles, okay? It's the only way to get it. There's no other location that you will find that. You have to be here. Glad we have that understood now. Thank you.
I'm now a Justin fan since he picked Rhaegar. I just wanted to throw that out. I'm now a big fan of Justin _Redwoods.
Yes,
Throw
yes.
that out.
That sign as well in front of
Rhaegar's a
me.
good pick.
I have yet to disagree with our guests on our next AJ Brown. Swags, will you be the person that
Man.
I disagree with for your AJ Brown pick?
Well, I had two people I wanted to take, but I feel like I'm taking the easy way out, and we mentioned him in the show earlier, and that I'm going to take Justin Jefferson. J-Mike just lost it.
I love him so
That's such a mic
much.
drop moment right there.
I just love him so much. I wanted it. I wanted him for myself. Great pick. I'm sorry. I
Well,
didn't give you the
okay,
full
you want me
screen.
to
Sorry.
take somebody else?
No, I want you to take him. I'll take someone else.
You should challenge J Mike because I don't think he
No.
knows any other rookie wide receivers besides Justin Jefferson.
No, sorry.
I
Swags,
had-
the floor
I
is
had
yours.
somebody
Excuse me, I'm
else I
sorry.
was ready in case somebody took Justin Jefferson. But I mean, it's not like old BC Johnson's not going to hold him back. I don't know. I really like Jefferson a lot in these redraft formats for rookies. He'll probably be on my team. I plan on having the youngest team again in the Scott Fish Bowl, and I want him to be a part of it. So, Legoland, stay off my rookies. And you can check out Rookie Fever. Do that with the Fever Panero. Work closely with Two Drink on Fantasy Football Breakdown and the Super Flexible podcast. He was supposed to be here this evening. We got him right here. Can't. That's Two Drink.
There he is.
Another reason to be here live.
Yeah, and I mean, same to you, Peter and Justin, everybody here. I mean, welcome at is always there. Just love doing this, man. So if anybody ever wants to come on a show, or I mean, I'll get at y'all too. I'll hop in your DMs, so you don't have to get with me. But yeah, we'll set something up. And I mean, you
Right
too,
on.
Gabe. I've been trying to get you on breakdown, just yourself. You know, do a little 2-minute breakdown with you. So that'd be super fun. And J Mike, you know you're welcome. But we've been trying to get Gabe over there. Just some. We want the man bun.
Damn right. Excellent.
Everybody
podcast
needs more
guest.
man bun.
Everybody.
I
Everybody.
tell people all the time, and I don't know
Thank
that
you,
they
Jack.
believe me or not, but I don't think people understand how sharp you are, Gabe, and I don't think most people understand just your depth of insight. And I don't know. I think a lot of people are missing out on more of you. I think they
Can I
should
just
have
point
more of
out? Last time we were talking about this, it was because I was saying I really want Gabe on my. I never hear him off the open bar, and so I finally, like after months of negotiating with his rider and all the stuff that he needs to turn up on a podcast, which is basically just an invite, by the way. If you have a podcast, you should just ask Gabe. On the show, I really pushed him really hard about these fourth-year first-round draft. Don't be a draft round snob, Gabe. Like, let's just fade Josh Jackson and Devontae Parker. And Gabe called me thirsty, and he said I was giving up way too soon. And then Devontae Parker did what Devontae Parker did. So you need Gabe on so that anyone listening to your podcast doesn't make the mistake of not getting Devontae Parker's breakout season. That was Gabe's call. Gabe called it, and he was right. I mean, I don't know anyone else that was calling for a fourth-year breakout from Devontae Parker other than Gabe. I know I'm normally sarcastic and facetious, but that was incredibly sharp, just to J Mark's point. Like, it's not your average fantasy analyst that points out stuff like that. Gabe's a lot sharper than I think J Mike's right, than he gets credit for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
thank you,
let me
Pete.
know when you're available later, Gabe, and we'll
Certainly.
work it out. But let's figure that out soon.
Yeah, apologies to you and Two Drink. I know y'all tried a few weeks ago, and
Oh, you're busy.
I wasn't
man.
able
We
to that
get it.
time, and I just wasn't sure if I needed to poke back in to get myself a seat, but I'm certainly willing. So,
Well, he talked to you a little bit more than I did, so I'm going to blame him. He made it sound like you were so busy. It was going to be tough. So I was kind of like, man, I don't want to push it. That's what I'm going to do for the follows thing. But I don't like bugging people, I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
no,
dude,
it's just it was more
you're
of the
more than welcome anytime, dude.
yeah.
You can own those shows too.
That's the plan. I didn't want to tell you, but that is the plan. So, Pete, and thank you, Pete. What's funny about how when you brought me on, you've always been wondering like my thought process or whatever, and I feel like I've never really been able to put that together myself. But honestly, the way that you construct things in chart form on Twitter is the way that I think. Like I can't put numbers to it, but that's exactly how I think. Like when you have running backs repeating the next year or repeating more than once, like that's how I think. That I know, like I've played this long enough to understand that these running backs aren't going to consistently do this year after year after year.
Right.
And why I use the term thirsty is people are thirsty as fuck year after year after year because something happened last year. That means it's going to happen again this year. And I have an issue with that in a large sense, and as far as like my logic behind things. But I appreciate you being able to put numbers behind my thought process because that parallels actually very nicely. So shout out to you as well, Pete.
Also, possibly the only reason I ever go check out TikTok, like ever. Hilarious, man. Good stuff. Seriously.
I feel like I haven't reached enough of the parents yet because I'm like, man, I have these ideas of like being like a dad or like parent now. I'm like, this is it. Like I know this is exactly how it feels. I know,
dude. You have no
because I
idea
live
how
it.
much people enjoy you, do you?
He doesn't.
He has no
Seriously,
idea.
he doesn't.
I enjoy
He's like,
your
anyone could
shit
do
so
this.
much, like I don't show my wife everything on my phone, but usually if you got something new out, I show my wife, and she's entertained by it, and she could give a shit about what we're doing here tonight, but dude, I don't know, man. Like,
I would say that's perfect.
Embrace
Same experience
that.
here.
Embrace
Anyone not
that,
interested
dude,
in
like-
fantasy football likes Gabe's stuff. Like when I show no one else in the community they give a crap about, but you show them what Gabe's up to, and they're like, "Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go follow him."
yeah,
Like, he's the
people
only
enjoy
one.
the shit out of you, dude. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, absolutely, dude.
All
But
right.
who's your AJ
All
Brown?
right, guys. Yeah, come on. Let's
Yeah,
see
who's
how
your
much.
AJ Brown?
Let's see how much you really like me after I pick. I want to say just a Raiders wide receiver, and I don't know what the injury thing is going to happen with our sweet boy Brian Edwards, J Mike. But I know you and I both want that to happen badly. I guess maybe it always seems like there is that correlation of some people being scared off of, players because of an injury. Happened with Odell. I think it even happened with AJ Brown a little bit, didn't it? With the hamstring thing last year, people were a little meh on it coming in. So sure, let's swing on Brian Edwards. I'm definitely afraid that there's already a first round wide receiver there in Ruggs, and it makes sense to just pick Ruggs, I guess, because he's the higher pick. But I like to bring the spice, and I think that if he didn't break his foot before the combine, I don't think that he would have been drafted where he was drafted. And you can do all the what ifs and the buts and the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, but it's just how I feel, man. All right. So Brian Edwards, all right, 101. Get out of here with that Rager nonsense, that Mims nonsense. All right. I don't even like those guys. I'm all about Brian.
Listen to you.
Love Brian Edwards.
I love all those guys. I have all three of them on teams. Jefferson as well. All right,
Brian
J-Mike.
Edwards is a T.Y. Hilton of 2020. There you go.
Yeah, I feel like when we looked at what AJ Brown did last year, obviously it took a very questionable wide receiver room and air an opportunity to close the year out to really become what we had hoped for him. That said, I'm going to go with the grossest of this bunch, Henry Ruggs, since no one's. I mean,
Harry
obviously
Ruggs.
Gabe alluded.
It's Harry Ruggs.
Excuse me,
Pretty
Harry
sure.
Ruggs. My
Pretty
apologies.
sure it's Harry Ruggs.
Well, you just look at it, and you don't have to squint hard to see him leading the team in targets. At least for me, you don't. And I very much, while people may not love it, like I think Ruggs is going to be a factor this year, and I think that he'll be fantasy relevant and probably exceed expectations. I think Mike Clay's got him at like wide receiver 40 something in terms of his projections, and I could just still see him as better. So I like all of your all's answers better. Justin Jefferson is my absolute favorite rookie, but it wouldn't surprise me if Ruggs out-targeted all of them, specifically with the wide receiver room that's in Las Vegas. I got it right. Yes. And I see people talking about T. Higgins in the chat, and I like T. Higgins too. I just don't see T. Higgins out-targeting A.J. Green or Tyler Boyd. Like, those are both very, very good wide receivers. And as
I'd
much
even
as I
give it
like
up
T.
for
Higgins,
Boyd in that respect.
you know, like I just don't see him out targeting either of those guys this season. Beyond perhaps 2020, I don't see that.
I don't think he
this year,
Joe Mixon.
I mean, he may not if they actually do like they say they want to do. So we'll see how that goes. And again, I like Higgins. That whole morass of like late first round rookies that went in rookie drafts, late first, early second. Like, it's a fun group. So people are going to be right. People are going to be wrong. People are going to victory lap the fact that you were low on Cam Akers and he finished as the rookie RB1. Well, okay, I had him at RB5 and I still really liked him. So I don't know. What do you want from me? Like, I don't know. Jerry Jeudy's and Jerry Jeudy, awesome player. I just don't see, again, him and CeeDee Lamb. I don't see either one of them leading their teams in targets. I just don't.
What about Laviska Shenault?
I don't see him out targeting Chark. And for that matter, D.D. Westbrook last year was basically on pace with Chark for targets until he kept getting hurt. So I like Laviska. I like what he can bring. I didn't love him as a player, but I like him in Jacksonville. And I think that he'll be interesting there. But
it is interesting. Jacksonville is kind of scatterbrained with wide receivers. Like, they keep getting rookies that do really well, and then they're like, who's the next guy though? Like, they give up on them after that.
Very weird.
Every year. It's weird.
Yeah, it is strange. So just in the so I think that Ruggs could be someone who kind of looks like McLaurin, where he comes out hot and it kind of fades and then finishes hot. Or then Brian Edwards is the one that just kind of comes on late, like AJ Brown, and just like takes over everything. Like, he just becomes it. I think it'll be fun.
I'm sorry, J Mike. I think we could potentially both be right here. I mean, let's just go ahead and say that we are going to be right. This is our podcast. This is the open bar. You know, we're Buzz, we're Bros.
We're claiming victory.
Ruggs and Edwards, you know, top 24 wide receivers this year. Book it. Derek Carr's done it before. All right, maybe he had Cooper and Crabtree. Sure.
The new team of the open bar, the Raiders.
Oh my gosh. We gave the Browns the boot for the Raiders. This is so sad. Why did you say that, Swags? I feel so gross.
That could really happen.
I feel so gross.
Carr's done it like nearly half of his career is support two top 24 wide receivers.
Yeah, sorry, just to Kyle's point here, in the invisible chat, non-existent chat, AJ Brown had 84 targets and had to have the most efficient season pretty much we've ever seen out of a rookie. Like, if Jeudy hit 84 targets to do what AJ Brown did, he would have to have, once again, the most efficient season we've ever seen out of a rookie. Like, betting on that twice in a row is why Judy's kind of struggling. I think Sutton squashes his year one breakout, but he could still be really good.
AJ Brown had 84 targets?
It was really low target volume for what he did on it.
AJ Brown.
And by the way, I heard that Corey Davis shade earlier, J Mike. Don't think I didn't.
Bro,
like a messed up wide receiver with no one on the team.
Davis.
Whatever.
No, that's not what I said at all. I said with a questionable wide receiver.
No, I'm going to memorize. You were like, and everyone else on the receiving core was trash and no good. And AJ Brown stepped in. That's how I remember it.
Speaking of trash and people stepping in, watch for this Adam Humphries bounce back. Just throw it out there.
Stop it.
To everyone that's obviously in the chat, appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for showing love. We appreciate you all. Such a fun night. Got a lot done. A lot of different things that we knocked out tonight and had a lot of fun with. So appreciate y'all. James the Brain, if you continue to subtweet the shade of Batman, I'm gonna have to go out to Wisconsin, and we're just gonna we're gonna have to exchange appetizers or something and have words. Nothing but love, James. Appreciate you, man. To our guests, thank you all. Pedro, as always. Justin, thanks for coming through for the first time and long overdue, as I told you previously, man. Thoroughly enjoyed our time together, live and in person. So this is long overdue, and I very much look forward to talking with you again. Swags, always a pleasure to have you, bro. And you've been treating, and I appreciate the fact that you've been treating your guests on Rookie Fever so well since you started giving the guests the really bad rookies toward the end of last season. I'm glad that you're back to respecting your guests again. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, once the season starts, we'll see how that goes.
All to win your game. I can't believe this. Oh, man. It's so much fun. So, again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate y'all more than you know. Gabe, I love you, man.
It's so weird, though. Like,
you.
it kind of got harder to get guests towards the end. So we kind of like, I don't know, we just weren't trying to get them as much. And we just kind of were like, what are we going to do with this game? And we're like, well, we'll pick 4 of them and we'll shit on them. So
yeah.
Just throwing it out there. I literally just sit in this room waiting for people to ask me to come on podcasts, and it hardly ever happens. Like, occasionally open bars, like, okay, we need a 5th. And here I am. But like, anytime, man.
We're all intimidated.
Normally
by you.
not. They're normally like, I guess, PA howdy, but like anytime if you show them.
Absolutely, man. I'll be reaching out for sure.
Cool.
Peter, you and your slander. You can find us wherever podcasts are, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Obviously, continue to love on each other, encourage each other in these wild times that we're in. Encourage everyone around. You never know what people are going through. Shout out to our homie 2 Drink, who was going to be on with us tonight, man. 2 Drink, nothing but love, bro. Appreciate you. Be encouraged. And you can find me on Twitter at JMikeCheck, at JMICCheck. You can find the show's handle at The Open Bar Pod. Major shout out to everyone in our Eliminator, as well as all the folks in our Best Ball Charity League. The divisions are set. Those are in the chat. And excited about it. So, my main man, the co-host with the most, Bun G, Genius the MC, FF Thick Skin, FF Follow Kent, FF New Bun, Mr. Gearing If You Nasty, on Twitter at FF Man Bun. Gabe, take us home.
FF Follow Kent. Oh my gosh. Which Kent are you talking about, J Mike? Larry Monkey or I would only know that if I was reading something from the never mind.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us tonight on The Open Bar.
I plead the 5th.
Yeah. How do we do this, man? Seriously, 2.5 hours. We're psychopaths.
I don't know. We are.
Like,
but thank you all.
You know, I see these people that they have their like 3-4 podcasts or whatever that they host, that they have, you know, Swags, you're definitely one of those. And this is certainly no shade towards you. I'm just doing a bit. But you know, we do these podcasts for, you know, 2 or 3 hours. We're basically just running ship and doing 3 podcasts in one show, one night every week. You know, we have a little fun. So there's that, you know, portion of the podcast. We actually talk football sometimes, kinda, and that's a podcast. And then like there's something else that we might even talk about, which is our 3rd podcast, you know, the Wild Card podcast. So look, we have it all. We own it all. We like all of you podcasts are our sons. Okay, this is the Open Bars world, and y'all are just podding in it. Okay. So I'm totally kidding. I respect and love all of your podcasts and the work that you do, and especially our guests here. I just can't follow through with a joke and just like be a jerk. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't know.
Do you
I don't have
need,
anything.
like, I'll step in and be a jerk if you need.
No, don't do it, Pete, because then we're going to start
Okay.
talking about vacated targets or something, and I know you have a lot to say about that. All right,
Hope so.
so this has been great. J. Mike, are we going to be here next week? Do you know?
Next week is, yeah, we are here.
Is it
We're here all of
July?
July except for the week of the
July?
21st.
July. All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'll be here if you let me.
Oh yeah, I
if
won't
you
be here.
just-
Sorry.
Yeah, no. The next week's show. If you want to add me to that group DM, J. Mike, I'll gladly come on the show.
You're not
if you
there?
want.
Oh gosh, what am I doing?
J. Mike, I'm just.
I can't.
All right, let's
You're
get outta
witnessing
here.
a meltdown.
Go check out J. Mike's pods. Don't think there's a new one as of late, but I'm sure it'll come before you know it, and it'll be a nice little treat, a
The
surprise
life and
for
times
you.
of Jane Mike, right?
That's, I mean,
Sure, that works.
yeah.
I couldn't remember the name.
Oh, J. Mike's Journal,
Sorry.
the Dummy Blitz.
Jane Pass on. Right.
That's. Do you know about a new podcast that I don't know about? The Life and Times of John Mike.
No, that's what he called. That's his Twitter handle. I just remembered. That's the name
Yeah.
he's got on there. I'm getting him.
All right, put your drinks up. Let's get out of here. I got nothing else to say. Appreciate and love everyone, whether you exist or
I
don't
just-
exist in the chat. Much love. Cheers. Put your fist up, your drinks up, whatever you want to put up. We love you. We appreciate you. And next week, we gonna see you because we live. And it's the open bar Tuesdays, 9:30 Eastern, partner. Guess what? Buckle up because it's gonna be a wild ride. Deuces.